Hello. Hello, 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 hello.
Hello. Hi. Hello.
I told you she'd be here. Nobody believes me. Nobody believes me.
I'm here. I'm here.
Wine in hand, ready for night court.
Wine in hand, ready for night court. And I just got a I don't know if you can see that. See my wine stain on my calendar? That was You know what? It's okay. We're going to go with it. Hello, good morning. Nope. Good evening, everyone. Hello.
Oh my gosh. Can I tell you that I love you all so much. Sidebar was quite the event this weekend. I recorded it Saturday. I had it good to go. Then it went live and I heard it and I fast forwarded and said, just in case, let's see if the screen didn't share the sound. And it didn't. And so I had to pull it down and then I had to bring the video over into something and import the audio and then oh man. But y'all have it. And I love you. And I'm not complaining. I'm just glad that it got out there and I hope you saw it and I hope you liked it. I was as sarcastic as I've ever been on a sidebar ever. But Shayna Hubers deserved it because she's an idiot. Also, I'm beardless, so there's that.
That was not the plan. The plan was we were going to dye it and bleach it, remember?
Right.
And then people ask you inappropriate questions about your drapes and whatnot. So that was
I shaved it. I shaved it, so now there can be inappropriate questions about the drapes.
There you go. That works too. I don't even watch. This is already taking a turn. Already.
I've already got like this stubble going on. It took me forever to start growing a beard, and now it just won't stop. So just get used to me being, completely lazy, and it'll be back soon enough. I do have my baby face on. It's true. I told you guys, I shave and immediately start getting carded for shit. Like right away.
I wish I had that problem.
I wouldn't suggest shaving or you'll end up having to, so don't do that.
Yeah, true.
At least I can't even find the right button for this. There it is.
Hello, Poppy.
Here, wait, I have one. Oh, I love that one.
Oh, I do like that one. We've got dueling sound effects now.
I know. I get so excited. I have the one. I don't know if y'all seen in day court. Anytime we got in like a super chat or something, I found this one. I think that's so fun. And it stopped working the other day. So then I had to. I didn't want to disappoint everybody, so then I had to do it by saying it. So then every time I would get one, I'd be like, cha-ching, cha-ching. And then people just thought that because I sound and look ridiculous doing it. Then they started like doing it, I think just so that they would have to see me embarrass myself by doing my own cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. Oh, so fun.
You get embarrassed. I don't even get embarrassed.
Yeah.
We're going to get flat because GT looks too young. Oh, God. Everybody's saying Everybody's. They do. That's the
Mrs.
problem.
Brewcrime's going to come in and try to put you to bed with the rest of them, with the rest of the little
Right?
people.
Oh,
Too
God,
funny.
At this point. Well, tonight we've got a few things that we're going to do. First, we're going to cover the top 3 because, of course, and then we're going to recap. Well, Brandi's going to recap for me because I didn't get a chance to see right after the victim statements is when I had to go work. It got worky. And so I'm interested because apparently that's when things got crazy. I also have the video downloaded, queued, and cut and cropped so that we can watch just the table of Vallow and the defense. Just because I can, since it's already broadcasted, I can't do it. We can't do it right now live. I would love to, but can't right now. But because it's been broadcasted and put up and done, I'm able to do it. So we'll be able to do that for John Thomas's sit down, and then Lori's apparent fun. So we'll do that, and then we'll hop into Jody. And then also I have a chat GPT for you all. And it is a Mad Libs, and it is provided to you. The words were provided to you by Lisa the Poppet Wilmot. And it is called, what is it called? It's called the Highland Cannonball. You're not ready. I wasn't either. So, all right, let's do the top 3 and make sure all sounds and stuff is working. Ricky, you know it's you. Oh boy, everybody. Well, congratulations for being in the top 3. Thank you so much for being in the chat a little bit early tonight. We sure appreciate it. And now I think we should probably talk about the matter at hand.
Oh boy, let me take another big old swig of my wine. Yes, I'm drinking wine out of a straw. It's that kind of night.
I don't see what's wrong with that.
It's good for your teeth.
It is.
So today was the sentencing for Lori Vallow Daybell.
Yes.
This was a big deal for us because the very first trial that we streamed was the Lori Vallow trial. And we did it right here on Night Court before Night Court was Night Court. So this one was kind of a big deal for us to, this is kind of like the closing of our first chapter, which was kind of cool. And also, today was one of those days. So victims each had, there were 5 family members that the court was able to hear from today. So they had Samantha Gwilliam, who is Tammy's sister. They had, who else? Ronald Douglas, her dad. List, Vicky Hoban, which is Tammy's aunt. Kay Woodcock,
she's the one who the hearing was about, correct?
Yes. The hearing that we watched Zoom for was so that he could be a part of it. And then we had, of course, Kay Woodcock, who is JJ's grandmother and Charles's sister. And she just had me boohooing. I tried to wipe my tears, and she did a great job. And then Colby Ryan had his statement read as well. And he wasn't there. He had his statement read. And then Ronald Douglas wasn't there. His was read by Vicky, but Colby is Tylee and JJ's brother. So they read the 2 statements, and then for the rest of them, they were there in person. Now, they didn't do it to where the camera faced them. So We watched, basically, it was from the judge's YouTube channel or whatever. So, the video wasn't great, but hey, at least we had video this time. But we watched, and you could see her kind of like sinking back into her chair. She was like leaned all the way back so that you couldn't really see her. It's completely disrespectful, very Lori, very on brand for Lori. So she was kind of like leaned back, her legs were crossed, and she had her ugly orange flip-flops, shaking her little foot and all that. So she was just completely uninterested in anything about anything she had done wrong. Now, anytime something positive was said about her, she perked up a little bit. Like when they would talk about how, she used to be a good mom, or, she was this or this. Or during John Thomas's BS, speech that he gave, she perked up a little bit during that. But the rest of it, she sat there like she was just too good for all of it. Completely disrespectful and made us all angry. And then there's this. She had this ugly smirk on her stupid face for off and on for pretty much the whole time. Her somebody said it was like coffee grounds eyeshadow and all that. I mean, this heifer looks like she's trying to go to prom. Yep. She's there for victim impact statements and does not give a flying rip about not even one victim or whose lives she ruined. She was just there to, to snicker and so she only showed emotions during K's. They said that she did, I guess, show some kind of, she had like verdict eyebrows. I'm glad I didn't put on my verdict eyebrows today. But hers weren't even like pretty verdict eyebrows. Hers were like
nope.
No, hers were like more like John Thomas type of wish.com eyebrows. So so after we're not going to watch the whole thing because it was pretty long. But there's a couple things we need to see because after the victim impact statements, and how great they did, how brave they were, well, first of all, let me say, John Thomas, as many times we were like, sit down, John Thomas, he objected during victim impact statements, which infuriated all of us. And instead of it was like during these moments where they are, oh yeah, I get riled up. Y'all don't mess with the victims. I get, wait, hold on. Let me sip my wine. So he was John Thomason himself to death today. And so he was annoying as hell. And Lori was too. And Archibald just kind of sat there like, oh dear God, I don't even want to be here, but yet here I am. So it is what it was. Now after the victim impact statements, they gave the prosecution a chance to speak, and then they gave defense a chance to speak, and then they gave Lori a chance to speak. When prosecution did their statements about what they were asking for, let me just give him credit. What's his name? Wood, I think is his name. Let me just give him credit.
Yeah, he
did a fantastic job. The way that he laid it out was so well done, and in a way that put the appropriate amount of responsibility on her, while also still making it about the victims and the impact that she had on not just the victims, but all the people who loved them. He did such a great job. John Thomas licks his Timex. Oh, I can't stand him. The prosecutor did such a good job laying his out. So if you haven't seen it and you have time, I would recommend going back and watching that part, because that part he did a fantastic job. And then came the defense. So they gave John Thomas the chance to speak, and it was about as John Thomas as you could possibly expect it to be.
Well, he learned how to do it from a movie.
Ugh, God.
And here we go.
On the record.
Very good. Thank you.
Very good.
Your Honor, some 20 years ago, I was sworn into
took
the
a
bar
sacred
and
oath.
took a
Force
sacred
call.
oath the
7
Constitution
years
to
ago.
uphold the Constitution. And part of
It's
upholding that Constitution, is making sure that the state meets their burden.
I'm hearing it twice.
Is anybody hearing an echo? Oh, we're hearing an echo. All right, hold on. Wait a tick. I can find a different way to do it.
Look, it's bad enough having to listen to John Thomas once, but having to hear his voice twice.
Yeah, you're right.
If
right,
there's
tell me
ever
if this
anybody that
works.
we don't want an echo on.
Tell me if this works.
On the record. Very good, Your Honor. Thank you.
Yep, that's
Your
better.
Honor, some 20 years ago, I was sworn into the bar and took a sacred oath to uphold the Constitution. And part of upholding that Constitution is making sure that the state meets their burden on criminal cases. They're required to prove beyond a reasonable doubt every aspect of the case. And I used to be a prosecutor back in the day, 20 years ago. I understand the burden and I understand the weight that they carry.
Do you?
I enjoyed the job, but it was a bit of a commute. And
A bit of a commute.
after a couple of years, I found a job that was closer to home, gave me a little more opportunity to be with my family. And so I took the job, but I was going to be a job as a public defender. And it was hard. I was torn because people would come to me and they would say, you know, how can you do that? How can you represent people that are charged with such horrible and terrible things? And so I went to my wife, one of my best and greatest counselors.
Spicy.
And I said, what do you think of all this? And she told me, John, I don't think Jesus Christ was a prosecutor. He is our greatest advocate. And I
think it's worse.
sit beside
It gets
Lori
worse.
Vallow, and I hope and pray for words that he would have me say. And so I've reflected upon this day and this hour for a long time, several weeks. And the message that I think I need to tell the court and the recommendation that I need to give to the court regarding Ms. Vallow is a message of peace and love and joy and hope.
Check, please.
First of all, peace. There are so many victims in this case. So many lives have been touched in a negative way. There is devastation and destruction surrounding this case. 3 deaths. And my heart aches. It truly does, as does the rest of my team, Jim and Brandon and all of our experts. We ache with the victims in this case. There's a lot of hurt surrounding this case, and not just the direct victims. As the court is well aware, there are cousins and uncles and aunts and people just in the general public
A
who have been touched by this
multitude
case.
of other people.
And that hurt can sometimes be manifest as hate. And I think that Lori Daybell is probably the most hated woman in America right now, and maybe in the world. But that hate will never bring closure to the victims. That hate will never bring about the healing to those who are hurt by this case. And hate will never bring about peace. Martin Luther King Jr. once said,
Oh my gosh.
"Cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that.
He already gets a D in my class.
Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that."
This is one of my favorite quotes, and for him to
So
use
how
it
do we
for
stop
her.
the hurt and pain and the loss? And I've heard from a number of people today who've talked about JJ never being able to reaches milestones or his 21st birthday, or we wouldn't know what Tylee was going to be when she grew up.
Stick to the script, John
We'll
Thomas.
never see her playing in the front yard with her children. We'll never know. We'll never know what Tammy's students make of themselves as they grow up. But we need peace to replace the hurt.
that she caused.
And that peace and that healing will only come about by love and compassion. And I hope that each person that's touched by this case, whether they're a family member or a friend or just someone who has followed this case from the beginning, I hope they can heal and find some semblance of peace again, because this world needs peace. Which brings me to love. And I think that's how we're going to.
Are these his
get back
vows?
to peace.
Yeah, well, he did say his wife
And
helped him on this.
Lori,
So.
if she could speak to each one of those people
Sure did.
who've been hurt by this case or been affected by this case in a negative way, her message
Miss
would
America's
be
speech.
one of love.
World peace.
Her motto is
world
love
peace.
is the key.
Hold on.
And-
On. He says her motto is love is the key. He literally just said that murderous heifer's motto is love is the key. Love is the key. To what door, you murderous heifer? All right, sorry, continue.
To hell.
He's so full.
Lori's a very misunderstood person. People that know her, and I mean really know her, get the chance to know her the way that I did, the way that her family knows her.
This is what would have happened to Kirk if Jody won.
They would know that she is about love.
I'm just saying.
Now, Lori and I didn't always get along. Our team has had tension and frustration and a lot of misunderstanding.
Blech.
But overwhelmingly, an overarching concept behind Lori and everything that she says to us and everything that she does is love. So if you get to know Lori, you'd find that she's a very different person than she plays on TV. She's kind.
What?
She's loving.
What?
She's caring. She's very witty.
Mhm.
She's insightful.
She's smirking
smart.
too. I can see it
Mhm.
through the
And if you
freaking.
talk to people that knew her prior to 2018, prior to this whole crazy series of
This
events,
whole crazy event.
you'll hear
And by this whole
about a
crazy event, he
wonderful
means
person
before she murdered
who
her
was
children.
active in a church, who was active in the community, who loved her children, very, very active in their lives.
He said that. Yep.
You'll hear
Mhm.
people who talk about how great she was with their children in her church, callings, in her neighborhood. She was a great mother to her kids. Her son, Colby, in fact, testified at trial that she was a great mother when he was growing up.
When he was growing up,
She has redeeming values.
Meh.
lots
Kay
happens.
Woodcock sang her praises today, that Lori was a great mom and that Kay allowed JJ, Canaan, to be adopted by Lori and Charles. And there's a lot of confusion and there's a lot of misunderstanding about how this ultimately came to pass. And that's probably not going to change anytime soon. There will be a lot of misunderstanding and a lot of confusion for a while. This brings me to my last topic,
Thank God.
That's exactly what I said on the
Mhm.
live
and
stream.
that is of hope.
Literally.
So what is hope? Well, hope is defined as a
Oh my God. He went to the
feeling of
dictionary.
expectation and desire for a certain thing to happen.
God, I hope he cited his references.
So what do we want to happen in this case? I think the court is well aware of the 4 goals of sentencing pursuant to
Because
Idaho Code
why?
1925-21. The first and foremost is the protection of society. The second most important is rehabilitation, and then deterrence of the individual and the public generally. And finally, the least important, according to statute, is that of punishment. Now, first-degree murder is first-degree murder, and conspiracy carries the same punishment. Under Title 18, 4004, and I quote, "The court shall impose a life sentence with a minimum period of confinement of not less than 10 years, during which the period of confinement of the offender shall not be eligible for parole or discharge or credit or reduction of sentence for good conduct, except for meritorious service." So those are the two guiding principles that we have to look at. And I know the court's well aware of this. This isn't necessarily for the court's edification. But I think we have to think about how are we going to heal the hurt and the pain and the devastation of this case with hope. How do we reconcile the four goals of sentencing in Idaho Code 1925-21 and the requirements of punishment in 18-4004 with hope? Well, we, and collectively, I'm talking about the court, the prosecution, and the defense, collectively, have saved the life of the defendant. I don't think the court, nor the prosecution, or the defense team should take credit or blame for the death penalty being taken off the table as a possible punishment. In my opinion, it was a collective effort, an effort that led to the court's decision. It was a necessary outcome to a series of events that no one person can be credited or blamed. We saved her life, and that is a win.
Is he crying?
That's a win for all humanity.
A win for all humanity. Give me a freaking break.
Did he pull tears?
You know, what do we do?
He paused. Dramatic
Court
pause.
can, as the state
He probably wrote it in his
requests,
script.
find a sentence appropriate of fixed life without parole. That certainly meets the protection of society and punishment, the first and last goals of sentencing. However, if the court so chooses, the court can also give the defendant a
Literally.
fixed term of years to serve in prison,
A bad day to
followed
have
by
the
an
ability to
indeterminate
hear.
term of life. And after great deliberation and thought, we would ask the court to sentence Ms. Vallow Daybell to a 20-year fixed term with an indeterminate term of life.
What?
We believe that that meets all the goals of sentencing with an added bonus of hope.
For hope.
So why would we give the defendant any hope at all?
I like to pretend the bailiff behind him is laughing.
Are we rewarding her? I don't think so. It's not about her.
Sure.
Giving her hope, it's for us. It's for everyone in this courtroom.
Oh,
It's for
don't.
everyone watching on the internet. It's for everyone who's going to watch this on television.
Archibald does not believe any of this shit.
It's for everyone who
Mm-mm.
lives and breathes.
He's just sitting there
outside
like,
the walls of prison.
I'm just ready to go get lunch.
Her hope will benefit
He
society.
just missed his chance to thank the taxpayers again.
In our opinion, if you
He
give her
wants to
fixed
portal
life,
out of there.
you will have essentially thrown her away.
You would have thrown her away
Instead of to rehabilitate,
like she did to those precious
there's no
children.
deterrent to her or anyone else. The punishment portion is final and all-encompassing. However, if we give her hope, we protect society by keeping her behind bars well into her 70s, but she has the incentive to be a model prisoner. She has the incentive to help those women that she interacts with in prison. And over time, she changes her behavior, her routines become habits, and she helps other inmates. She becomes a better person. And as these inmates interact with her, this better version of Lori Daybell, they become better people as they re-enter society. So without hope, the likelihood of success in reaching any of the goals of sentencing other than punishment,
I am waiting for
is very
Ashton to pop
low.
out.
if not non-existent. Your Honor, we live in the greatest country in the world.
Ugh, jeez.
We can do this. We can't bring JJ back. We will never reach those milestones.
Just JJ?
We can't bring Tylee back.
Oh, okay. He's gonna hit all of them.
She'll never have children of her own. And we can't bring Tammy back. She'll never visit with her grandkids or teach a young student in the library or in her computer class. But we can try to bring others up who go to prison to a higher level than they are when they went in. And I think that's important. And I think that's a testament to JJ and to Tylee and to Tammy. I think that gives them something to carry on in the future.
No. What?
Forgetting about Lori Daybell
Get their names out
is
your
not the
mouth.
way that we're going to heal. Remembering JJ, remembering Tylee, remembering Tammy, and allowing Lori to be the best person that she can be in a prison setting, to help other people in that prison setting. That's how we're going to get the benefit out of Lori.
Oh,
The benefit to society of giving Lori Daybell hope far outweighs any detriment. And what do we have to lose by giving a woman in her 70s an opportunity to go before a parole board and to ask for release? There's not even any guarantee that she will be released in her 70s. But that hope is what's going to drive progress in this case.
I've already drank my wine. I got it.
So in summation, we need to heal in order to have peace. Peace comes through love.
Oh, here we go. Wrapping it all up.
Love is manifested in this case through hope.
Hope.
We ask the court to show mercy and look to the future. We ask the court for a 20-year fixed term plus life indeterminate, concurrent for all 5 counts of murder and conspiracy to commit murder. We would ask the court to give Lori Daybell a 14-year concurrent sentence for the grand theft to run concurrent with each one of the other charges. We can do this, Judge. We can move forward towards peace again
Oh, Jesus.
and heal, which is what we really need to do. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you for the recommendations, Mr. Thomas.
It's like he's reading one of those posters where the kittens
Right,
are
Miss
hanging
Vallow,
off of
before
a
I
tree
place-
limb. And
Right.
he's like, don't give up hope. All we need is hope. And it's like the cute kittens hanging. She's not a cute kitten. She's a murderous heifer. 2 different things. So the whole like hope
Yeah.
and love and, you know, she just emulates love and peace and BS. Like we listened
Yeah.
to what happened to those babies. Like, ugh.
He wrote this after sitting down to a dinner at a Chinese restaurant and opening up a fortune cookie. Like all of it.
Mhm.
I spent 2 years as a program director for liberal arts, and I taught public speaking in a classroom. And one of the things that I did was I went to a collection of high school students came, and I did the class for them, and they got college credit. That's not the point. The point is that they put together better presentations than that. That was
Mhm.
bad. That was
It was
he
so
should
bad.
be ashamed. Like he
It
should
was so
be
bad.
disbarred just for that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess now we
Like the whole
gotta listen to
first part was
Missy.
awkward and uncomfortable. And he's like, you know, I did this and then I found this and it was a shorter commute and I loved what I did. And, you know, then he talks about his wife said, you know what? I bet Jesus wasn't a prosecutor. Like, what? What? Put that on a t-shirt. Jesus wasn't a prosecutor. Oh my gosh. What?
I sense a new merch idea. I also sense us getting canceled for that.
Oh, John
I
Thomas.
do
That was like the
believe
most John
ChatGPT could have written
Thomasy.
a better one.
Probably, yeah. Yeah. It was the most John Thomasy closing ever. And having said that, now we are about to listen to the most Lori statement that you could ever possibly hear. And I know that we didn't prep for this, but if you want to, or if everybody wants to, we can take a poll on it or whatever. But if you want to, but the judge, what he says to her, not the whole first half, but I can find the timestamp of when he starts getting to the good stuff. But he has like about this 5-minute moment where he like took us to church. We're like, yeah. Like he made a bunch of us nervous in the beginning because he was like, go and buy well, she's never been in trouble for it. And I have to take this into consideration, this and this. And everybody's like, and then he's like, however, and then he just let her have it. The judge was amazing. I can find the timestamp on it while we're listening to the ridiculousness that's about to come out of this woman. And I'll
do that, and then what I'll do is I'll reload this clip. It'll be in its entirety, and then I can go to that time. I do want to say that I just popped up ChatGPT while you're talking about that, and I said, please write a defense statement before sentencing involving love, hope, and peace. And I'm pretty sure he went to ChatGPT.
So did it come out really similar?
Hold on. And include references to Jesus and Martin Luther King. He really did go to ChatGPT. Oh gosh. Wow. All right. Okay. That's fun. All right, let's listen to this. Okay.
Sentence. If you choose, you may address the court. This is known as the right of allocution, which permits you to make a statement on your own
Leading
behalf
to
or present
execution.
any information in mitigation of the punishment for the crimes you've committed. And let me inquire at this time, do you wish to address this court? All right, very well. You may make your statement.
I would like to start by quoting John from the New Testament in the Bible.
No.
In John chapter 8, verse 7, Jesus says, "He that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her."
That's not
Then
how
in
that...
verse 15, Jesus says, "Ye judge after the flesh, I judge no man. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true." Jesus knows me, and Jesus understands me.
And
I
he's
mourn
disgusted
with all of you who mourn my children and Tammy. Jesus Christ knows the truth of what happened here. Jesus Christ knows that no one was murdered in this case. Accidental deaths happen. Suicides happen. Fatal side effects from medications happen. I have a different perspective in life because in 2002, when I was pregnant with Tylee, I died in the hospital while in labor with her. They tried to stop my labor. They put me on the table and they put something in my IV, and I felt my spirit falling to the floor. I was standing near my pregnant body, watching the doctors try to revive me, which took them a few minutes. In that time, my sister Stacy was standing to my left. I turned to hug her and was surprised that her spirit was as tangible as a physical body, because I knew I was in spirit and she was in spirit. She said she needed to show me some things, and we went to heaven. I later returned to my body. Because of this experience, I have access to heaven and the spirit world.
Ugh.
Since then, I have had many communications from people now living in heaven, including my children, Tylee Ashlyn and Joshua Jackson, my sisters, Stacy and Lolly, my aunts and my uncles, and my grandparents. I have had many communications with Jesus Christ, the Savior of this world, and our heavenly parents. I've had many angelic visitors have come and communicated with me and even manifested themselves to me. Because of these communications, I know for a fact that my children are happy and busy in the spirit world. Because of my communications with my friend Tammy Daybell, I know that she is also very happy and extremely busy.
Mm.
I have always mourned the loss of my loved ones, and I have lost many in this mortal world. However, I know them more than most people. I know where they are now and what they're doing. I know how wonderful heaven is, and I'm homesick for it every single day.
Ah.
I know we all lived in heaven before we were born on earth.
Go ahead and take
we
care
were
of that
all
there, Lori.
adult spirits in the heavenly realm. We chose to come to earth as mortals. Heaven is more wonderful than you can possibly imagine. I do not fear death, but I look forward to it. I did not want to return to my
Is it
body
too
when
late
I
to
was
put the
out of it.
DP on the table?
Even though my son Jody, who I adored more than anything, was only 6 years old at the time, and I was about to give birth to this new baby girl that I wanted so badly. I was a young mother, and you would think I wouldn't want to leave my children, but as I stood in heaven, I did not want to go back. I thought they would be fine without me because I was peaceful and I was
They would have been.
happy and I was home. But then I was told by Jesus that I needed to go back and complete things that I had covenanted or promised to do before I was born. This caused me a lot of distress because I knew heaven was my real home and I only wanted to be there. I was free from pain, emotional and physical. But then I was shown how I would help my children and others in the future. So ultimately, I did agree to go back to my body.
Oh, it was your choice.
Mm-hmm.
Of course it was.
Sent
Kylie
Jesus the
has
facts
visited
like,
me.
hey,
She
we'll
is
head out
happy and very busy. Kylie is free now from all the pains of her life.
the audacity.
Kylie suffered horrible physical pain her whole life.
Specifically
I
at the
sat
end.
with Tylee in the hospital
The
year
audacity.
after year after year while she screamed in pain when the morphine wasn't even enough to take away the pain of her pancreatitis. I sat there while she cried and I held back her hair while she threw up.
As a parent
And I'm
should.
the only person on this earth who knows how much Tylee suffered in her life. She had pain every single day. She never felt good. Her body did not work right. And I don't know if that was from complications from me dying
Yeah.
while she was being born or something else, but she had a very difficult life. She was sexually abused by her own biological father since she was 3 years old, and she was forced by family court to go visit him for 10 years against her will. I fought for her in court. I protected her. I tried to protect her with my whole life. I tried to protect her. I worried about her every single day. Tylee
Nope.
had to get her GED because she couldn't go to school every day because
Nope.
she never felt good. She felt
He said-
sick.
Not today, Satan.
Nobody knows this
Sent
as Tylee, like myself, tries to put on a good front.
Not today,
Tries to
Satan.
be a happy person. Tries to have hope in life. Tries to know that she's here for a purpose and that she has an eternal purpose to be on this earth. But I never stopped worrying about her. One of the times that Tylee came to me as a spirit after she died, she commanded me and she said to me, "Stop worrying, Mom. We are fine." She knows how I worry and how I miss her.
Bleh.
The first time JJ visited me after he passed away, he put his arm around me and he said to me, "You didn't do anything wrong, Mom. I love you. And I know you love me every minute of my life." JJ, Joshua Jackson, was an adult spirit, and he was very, very tall when he put his arm around me. He is busy, he is engaged, he has jobs that he does there, and he is happy where he is. His life was short, but JJ's life was meaningful. JJ was a wonderful person and touched the lives of everyone, and I adored him every minute of his life. My eternal friend, Tammy Daybell, has visited me on several occasions. She came to bring me peace and comfort, and I know that she is extremely busy helping her family, especially her children and grandchildren. And I have a great love for Tammy.
So full of shit.
My beautiful children, Tylee Ashlyn and Joshua Jackson, rest safely this day in the arms of Jesus. My wonderful friend, Tammy Daybell, rests safely this day in the arms of Jesus. And I look forward to the day when we are all reunited and I too will rest with them in the arms of my Jesus.
You can't go from the center ring of hell, Lori.
All right, Ms. Vallow, thank you for your comments.
Thanks for your comments, I guess. Maybe, perhaps. Oh,
The
God.
audacity of this woman to call Tammy a friend when we've seen the messages. We know what that heifer was saying. We've seen it. To pretend like she was, I know what she went through with pancreatitis. I can guarantee it wasn't as bad as what she went through at the very end. And then for her to say, JJ visited me and told me, Mom, you did nothing wrong. The audacity. I cannot wait for her Arizona trial. I'm going to be right there with my sentencing pom-poms like, yeah, give her another life sentence. But
our tinfoil hat.
Yeah, tinfoil tiara.
Oh, yes, sorry. Oof. All right. Let's watch this bit.
We need audio.
You don't have audio?
Nope.
Why does it do this? It does it when it...
The audacity of that woman.
Mm-hmm. Add it.
And considered all of the evidence that I saw at trial along with the jurors, it's been a difficult task for me to narrow down and articulate all of the aggravating factors because really there are so many here. Murder is the most serious offense. And the most unimaginable type of murder is to have a mother murdering her own children. And that's exactly what you did. You were involved in and guilty of conspiring to murder another group of children's mother, Tammy Daybell, who had children of her own. And despite the jury convicting you with overwhelming evidence, you still
tapping her foot in the
sit
air
here before the court today and said you didn't do it. You came here to East Idaho, where I've spent my life, and moved here from another place already with plans in progress to make your children disappear. The evidence bore that out at trial. You removed your children from their home in Arizona, alienated them from friends and family, got rid of JJ's service dog. You moved to Rexburg, a community where you could find 1,000 random families to take your children, and you brought them here to murder them. You had so many other options. You could have gotten divorced. You could have found someone to take care of those kids. But as the state was able to prove at trial, You chose the most evil and destructive path possible. You killed those children, according to the state's theory, and I believe it, to remove them as obstacles and to profit financially. You justified all of this by going down a bizarre religious rabbit hole, and clearly you are still down there. While you were enjoying your new life in Hawaii, countless law enforcement officers, family members, and volunteers were searching for your children. And I don't think to this day you have any remorse for the effort and heartache you caused for others who looked for your children when you knew where they were and knew they were dead. They were found dead, burned, mutilated, and dismembered, and buried like animals. After you knew they were dead, you collected public funded assistance payments meant for them, and that was blood money you kept for yourself.
Blood money.
And
Tell
that's the
her.
grand theft charge you've been convicted of. Your sister, your son talked to you, begged with you while you were in the jail during phone calls I heard at trial. And those were very sad and difficult calls to hear. And you didn't provide any assistance or comfort to them. During the trial, when the evidence came out about how these children were found and the state they were in, you wanted to be excused and not have to watch the evidence, and were fine to let all the other people in the courtroom, including the jurors, have to bear through that.
Mm-hmm.
However, I ruled that you did have to sit and watch and see the result of your heinous crimes.
Yes.
The jurors
Tell
in
her.
your case fulfilled their duty admirably. All 18 jurors we had, because we had alternates, went through the entire trial and faithfully fulfilled all their obligations and all the instructions. So we were able to get impartial jurors who weren't already tainted by pretrial publicity to decide your case. And I do thank the jurors publicly for the service they rendered. Those jurors I noted during the trial were very good at keeping their emotions in check and keeping stone-faced, as they're supposed to do, and be objective until the case is done and submitted. However, I did note at certain times during the trial, such as when there were videos and pictures shown of you in Hawaii at this time frame when JJ and Tylee were lying in shallow graves, the disgust on the faces of those jurors was evident, and shocking revelations about what happened here just kept coming through the trial. The crime scene was a horrific thing to have to review, and there's images that I will never get out of my mind, and I'm just looking at the pictures. Law enforcement officers who had to deal with the aftermath of what you did, I'm sure were traumatized, and I know it was traumatic as well for the jurors who had to sit through and see the photographs of these dead and mutilated and buried children. For those people who loved and cared about JJ and Tylee and Tammy Daybell, to have to see those photographs of them through trial of their dead and desecrated bodies must have been devastating. Tammy Daybell was murdered as a result of your conspiracy. She was, by all accounts, a healthy, happy mother and wife through a lot of her life. And you were out shopping for wedding rings to marry her husband while she was still alive. You were planning a wedding to her husband while she was still alive. You
Forgot how
haven't shown
angry
any
this case
remorse
made me.
for any of those
Mhm.
actions. And she ended up being murdered, buried, had to be disinterred later so an autopsy could be performed in order to prove the evidence of what you had done. Any of that. You took her life away. You
Mhm.
destroyed that family, fractured it to the point where, in the information I've had through the PSI, there are relationships that will probably never be mended that have rippled as a result of what's happened.
Mhm.
JJ and Kylie, of course, 7 years old, 16 years old, were separate people. Lives were cut way too short because of you. Never got to grow up and be adults. The family and friends who have provided their impact statements, of course, have stated it better than I could about who they were. It is loss for everyone that you took away from this world. And it is the most shocking thing, really, I can imagine, is that a mother killed her own children and you simply have no remorse for it. Even sitting here today, there's no remorse for what you did. After all of this evidence through trial, you haven't shown any remorse. You haven't said you're sorry. You haven't done anything to seek leniency from this court. There's been a lot of people during trial and here who explain the devastation you're responsible for, and you forever altered the lives, not in a good way, for many, many people, destroying family relationships, taking people away that were loved, cared for, and needed. You may not believe to this day that you've done anything wrong, and you still may think you're justified by your religious beliefs for what happened here. I'm not here to judge that, but I don't believe that any God in any religion would want to have this happen, what happened here. And your crimes are heinous and egregious, and that alone can constitute a major aggravating factor that requires me to impose a serious act of incarceration. So after weighing all those factors, I need to an aggravation. I find that the sentences I'm about to impose will serve the interest of justice by, number one, preventing you from ever doing this again, that they will not depreciate the seriousness of your crimes, will punish you appropriately, and will serve to deter both you and others. So
And boom goes the dynamite.
Factors the court can. This time, then, I am prepared to pronounce sentence. Mr. Thomas, Mr. Archibald, defendant, would you please rise and pronounce my sentence? On relevant circumstances, including the evidence take up the counts out of order as I want to address the substantive murder sentences first. The charge you were convicted of, the first-degree murder of Tylee Ryan, you are sentenced to custody of the State Board of Corrections to serve the maximum allowed sentence of fixed determinate term of life in prison with no possibility of parole.
So it's buffering a little bit, but I can sum this part up. He's just giving the sentences now. So because a lot of people, and the reason I want to explain it anyway is because a lot of people, I've gotten so many messages asking me what exactly he means here. So when he's giving these sentences, he says he wants to go out of order because the way that he's sentencing her, I tweeted it out. So she ain't going nowhere. Like the heifer's gone. But the sentences that he gave 3 consecutive life sentences, but because he wanted each of the victims honored. Now, but that's not it though. So the way that it's worded, the way that he handed it down, she gets life sentences without the possibility of parole on the charges of murder for JJ and Tylee, and conspiracy to commit murder for JJ, Tylee, and Tammy. So there's 5 total life sentences. 3 of those are to be served consecutively. So she has 5 life sentences, but the conspiracy and the murder for each of the kids are going to be served together. But the but so like she'll have 2 life sentences that she's serving together for Tylee, and 2 that she's serving together for JJ, 1 for the murder, 1 for the conspiracy. And then she'll have a separate one that she's serving for Tammy. So I wanted to kind of break that down because it basically she ain't going nowhere ever, but the way that he worded it, he's giving 3, because that's what people were confused about, because he gave 3 consecutive life sentences, but there's 5 life sentences without parole total. So that's why. And then plus, because of the grand theft where he was taking the money, he gave her another 5 years for each of the grand thefts for each kid. So there's 10 years for that. So yeah, she'll never get out. Yeah, JT went through the portal. We don't know what happened, but he'll come back. Yeah, 10 years for the theft. So it's I had tweeted it out 3 consecutive years, or I mean 3 consecutive terms, but altogether, it's 5 life terms without the possibility of parole, but 3 of them are consecutive. So if that makes sense. And now we just wait for Brother Brewmeister to come back. It means she will never, ever get out. And I'm happy for it. Oh, hey, girl, welcome back.
I don't know what happened.
Brother Brewmeister coming in hot.
It's just the portal.
Portal.
And the internet and everything else that was going on.
Dang it, portal.
Apparently, even my internet had it up to here with I'm looking at Jody, but with Lori.
Your portal was like, dang it, John Thomas, too much. Too much. Too much.
Just had enough of the bull crap.
Yeah. Brother Brewmeister broketed it.
I did broke it. Did. JT's mom came to put him to bed.
We told you not to shave. We told you.
I know. Tell me about it. The computer's just like, nope, you're too young. Oh, God.
Jennifer asked, is the Melly news verified? Which Melly news?
The juror thing, I think.
Oh.
The one about the 13 to 1 or whatever.
Well, there's not a way to verify it. We can only take what each of the jurors says because the judge did not poll them. So that part we can't. There's not a way to verify it. We can only take each of them as, at what they say. But I mean, it makes a whole lot more sense than what. Look, I said from the second I saw Jamie posting that, Melly's almost coming home. It was, 9 of them wanted to acquit him and only 3 wanted to convict him. I said from the very start, she's full of bull butter, as Ricky Watson would say. I said it from the very start. She has lied. And I hope you're watching this, Jamie. I don't even care. The lies that she tells in order to keep Melly's name in stuff is not only a disservice to the justice system, but it's a disservice to the victims and the victims' families. And it's infuriating because it's, in my opinion, it is for profit because, I've seen the court docs where they're making money off of the stuff that they're selling with the free Melly stuff. So it's one of those things where there's not a way to verify it, no matter what she tweets. But we can only take each of the jurors' words for it. But, that one makes a lot more sense than anything she's tweeted. So you can tell I'm annoyed by her shenanigans, right?
No, not at all.
Love it.
Oh, man. Well,
I tweeted the article. You can find it on I tweeted the article.
Since it's 9:53 and you're here, should I read this story from Lisa? Okay.
Sure.
For those of you who don't know, I'm gonna play a video right now. Yes. For those of you who don't know, this is Night Court Chat GPT Mad Libs. And so what happens is a random person from Discord who wants to is selected, and I give them different options for, providing words. And I put Lisa the Poppet Wilmot through the ringer. And I asked her for a genre, a person from a past trial or the past, a sport, size, nationality, transportation, season, weather, location, a type of ball, injury, and profession.
Ball injury?
No, a type of ball, and then the other one is injury.
Comma. Got it.
Yes.
I was gonna say cold groin.
So,
are there any more
right.
other than that? I don't. Kick to the baseball bat. I've seen that one happen. At the baseball field. Okay, never mind. I'm off topic. Sorry.
So this is called the Highland Cannonball. Now she said that I need to read this in a Scottish accent, and I don't think I can do that. And if I did, I'd have to start with a Shrek impression. Donkey! Once upon a baking hot... No, I can't see. All right, so here we go. Once upon a baking hot summer day in the picturesque Scottish Highlands, a lively village fair was underway. The air was filled with the aroma of fresh-baked pies and the laughter of the villagers. Among the crowd was a mysterious traveler named Angus, a knight who hailed from a distant land. Unknown to the villagers, Angus was on a secret quest to apprehend a notorious criminal who had been terrorizing the region, none other than the infamous Ted Bundy, a master of disguise and deceit. While strolling through the fair, Angus noticed a commotion near a makeshift cheese-rolling arena. Intrigued, he made his way through the crowd to witness the spectacle. The cheese-rolling contest was an enormous event with competitors from various villages competing to roll a giant wheel of cheese down a steep hill, chasing after it as it tumbled away. As Angus watched the event unfold, he spotted a familiar face amongst the contestants, a man who looked strikingly similar to Ted Bundy, albeit with a shaggy beard to hide his identity. Realizing that this might be his chance to capture the fugitive, Angus decided to participate in the cheese-rolling contest himself. Donning a traditional Scottish kilt and armed with determination, Angus joined the line of competitors. The crowd was taken aback by the arrival of the foreign knight, but they welcomed him warmly, excited to see how he would fare in their beloved sport. The cheese was set at the top of the hill, and with a resounding cheer, it was sent rolling downward. A chaotic scene unfolded as participants chased after it, stumbling and tumbling in pursuit of the coveted prize. Angus, however, displayed remarkable agility, dashing down the hill with incredible speed, effortlessly evading obstacles and fellow competitors. As the cheese drew nearer to the bottom, Angus noticed the suspicious man who resembled Ted Bundy still close behind. Determined to catch the criminal, Angus put on an extra burst of speed, overtaking all the others until he was only a few strides away from the man. But just as Angus reached out to apprehend him, the man unexpectedly veered off course and disappeared into the dense woods nearby. Unwilling to give up, Angus pursued the fugitive, navigating through the thick foliage and overcoming obstacles. After a tense pursuit, Angus found himself face to face with the wanted man, cornered near a small river. The man's true identity was revealed as he dropped the facade and revealed himself to be none other than Ted Bundy. Angus knew he had to act swiftly. As Ted lunged towards him, Angus performed a deft maneuver, knocking him off balance into the cold river waters. Bundy's escape attempt was thwarted, and with the help of the village authorities, Angus successfully apprehended the dangerous criminal. The village erupted into cheers! Yay! As Angus emerged from the woods, leading the captured Bundy to face justice. The knight was hailed as a hero, and the villagers celebrated his bravery and skill. After the capture of Ted Bundy in the Scottish Highlands, Angus handed them over to the local authorities, who were well aware of the criminal's heinous activities. The news of Bundy's capture spread like wildfire, and the villagers were relieved that the dangerous fugitive was finally behind bars. The authorities conducted a thorough investigation and Bundy's true identity was confirmed beyond any doubt. It was revealed that he had been hiding in the Highlands, assuming various disguises to evade capture, while continuing his malevolent deeds. Given the severity of his crimes, Ted Bundy was swiftly brought to trial. The justice system was determined to ensure that he had faced the consequences of his actions. The trial garnered significant attention, not only in Scotland, but also internationally, due to Bundy's infamous reputation. During the trial, Angus testified as a key witness, recounting the events that led to Bundy's capture and how he had used the cheese rolling contest as an opportunity to apprehend the criminal. His bravery and quick thinking earned him praise and admiration from the court and the public. Bundy's defense tried their best to contest the evidence presented against him, but the overwhelming weight of the accusations and testimonies from victims and witnesses was undeniable. After a fair and thorough trial, Ted Bundy was found guilty of his horrific crimes. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, ensuring that he would never again pose a threat to society. The Highland community felt a collective sense of relief, knowing that justice had just been served. Angus returned to his homeland, knowing that he had made a significant contribution to the safety of the Scottish Highlands. He resumed his knightly duties, but the memory of the intense pursuit and capture of Ted Bundy remained etched in his mind forever. Yes, it is. Over time, the tale of the Highland Cannonball spread far and wide, becoming an inspirational story of how one brave knight had outsmarted and captured a dangerous criminal. The village fair, with its cheese rolling contest, took on a legendary status, and people from all over came to participate in the spirited event, celebrating bravery and camaraderie. As for Ted Bundy, he spent the rest of his days confined to a prison cell, isolated from the world he had once terrorized. Despite his imprisonment, his name continued to evoke fear and fascination, becoming synonymous with the embodiment of evil. The Highland Cannonball became a symbol of justice prevailing over darkness, reminding everyone that even on the hottest summer days, when evil seemed to lurk in the shadows, there were knights like Angus who would stand up to protect the innocent and uphold the values of courage, integrity, and honor. And so the legend of the Highland Cannonball was born, a tale that would be retold through generations. The story of bravery, perseverance, and justice prevailing even on the hottest of summer days in the Scottish Highlands. This has been... Wow.
Sheree said this is cheddar cheesy.
It is cheddar cheesy. That's what I was so excited. Oh my gosh. I know it was a little longer, but I just could not separate it. Could not.
Lisa said Bundy and Baby Bill.
Have you ever seen that sport before?
No.
Oh, hold on. Just wait a moment. It's real. Hold on. All right. Here we go. Add the stream. Okay. Hold on. There was one woman who ended up. Hold on. There's a woman who got knocked the heck out. Is this it? This might have been it. Let's see. It just looks so hurtful and hurty. Oh God! No! Okay, that wasn't it at all. That's not what I was looking for.
It's like
this is it.
Roller derby on the side of a hill. Without
this is it. We'll do a nice. Here she is. Watch this. Oh! Oh! It shouldn't be. I mean, I get it. It's definitely like get together.
Medical assistance needed. Medical assistance needed. I am too old to partake in things like that. I don't even think that like 8 shots in my 20s, that's something I would have done. But well, I mean, I can't guarantee that honestly because 8 shots into my 20s, it touch and go there for a while. I don't. That's not something that I just. It's not my thing. Maybe. But
I so there's not. What they get to do is they get to keep the cheese.
oh
They get to keep the wheel of cheese.
yeah, I mean, or you could go to the Piggly Wiggly and just buy yourself some cheese. I mean, there's also that option.
I mean,
and
we got some weird shit too.
true that.
I mean, we got gator wrestling. We got what?
Okay,
I
but
don't know. We got
there's an art to that. So that's totally different.
there might be an art to that. I don't
Just
know.
joking, just joking.
Throw yourself downhill. It must
Yeah.
be really good. It better be good. It better come with an act.
I mean,
Jesus.
you would like that would take some talent. Like, I
There it
mean,
is.
knowing how to fall, polar bear plunge. Now that I have done.
That is what I'm talking about. See, though? I mean,
Yeah.
I have not. I like all of my bits and pieces on the outside of my body. It's way too cold. Way too cold. Yes, Tough Mudder, Iron Man, all of that. Ugh. We're weird. Gladiator, American Gladiator. I mean, I like the show, but come on.
I love me some American Gladiator. Let me tell y'all, when I was younger, American Gladiator, like that was my jam. And they have a new documentary about American Gladiator on Netflix. If y'all have not watched it, you have to watch it. It's incredible. But I was young during all that, but man, I wanted to be one of them. Like when they would get up there and they're like like with their, the jousting thing, or like the, where they're on the towers or whatever, and they have oh man, I want to do that so bad. Me and my brother used to try to recreate the events, around we go out in the front barn, like the barn in the front pasture or whatever, and we'd try to make our own American Gladiator thing. Somehow I always lost. Getting the bejesus knocked out of me multiple times. He was bigger and stronger and more athletic and older. So I don't know why I thought in my mind it was a good idea to try to recreate American Gladiator stuff with my brother. But oh my gosh, I love that show.
Dee Dee got exactly what I was going to talk about. Somebody mentioned Wipeout. Wipeout is actually a recreation. It's an appropriation of Maximum Extreme Challenge, MXC, which was a Japanese show that was eventually dubbed into English, and it is hysterical. So funny. Maximum Extreme Challenge is the jam. It is one of the most original, fantastic things that Wipeout just stole from. So that being said, is this a real thing? Shin kicking? I don't know what gurning comps means, but I think I'd have to practice before I did it in public. And custard swimming, I'm okay with, I guess.
Have you seen the slap competitions?
Mm-hmm.
Where you like one arm and you slap the bejesus out of the person across from you?
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole thing.
It is a whole thing.
There are things that, yes.
Oh! Y'all, we are going to get to Jody, I promise, but, Brandi and I can just get on things. It's what happens.
Look, my ADD medication has worn off for the night, so y'all just get what you get and you don't pitch a fit. There's no telling where we end up.
Are we going to...
Thank God it wasn't me that got slapped.
Thank God it wasn't you got slapped.
The governor is even involved in it.
Her chin is
all right, so is she going to get another slap?
High, didn't it? A little bit of a headshot in my
Here we go.
Why
Let's
they
see.
gotta wear skimpy skirts to slap each other, though?
Oh, wait, no, we're skipping. That almost looked like Lisa Kudrow.
He's a very good fighter. He's a big man.
All right, we're going to fast forward a little bit.
Oh!
Let's go back.
Mad Max.
Okay, that's good. We're gonna get canceled.
I'll never talk crap about cheese rolling or whatever it's called again, because look at the ridiculousness that we do. Yeah.
I don't know if I want to Google gurning. It worries me.
What is gurning?
It's a rural English tradition. Wait, what? hold on. Traditionally framing their faces, Gurnan. Oh, okay. Now I gotta look it up. See, listen, we're learning things. Earning world championships. This is a thing. Okay. Oh my gosh, is it literally just making faces?
Here at Transworld Sport, we like to feature some of the world's more unusual sports. And they don't come
What is
much
happening?
stranger than gurning.
What?
It looks relatively simple to pull faces, but it's very, very difficult. You hold your
That's my kind of sport. I'm in.
I mean, I already do that half the time when people are doing ridiculous crap on stream. Like, people
Right.
already talk about all the faces I make. So, I mean, there you go. Oh, Lord. The things, the places we go. Oh, the places we go.
We are going to be knowledgeable children.
Yes. Yes.
We need to start watching Jody.
Yeah. I have been up since 5 a.m. and I still have some stuff I got to get done for tomorrow. So I'm going to jump off here and let y'all get back into Jody. For my day quarters tomorrow morning, we are starting. Rude. We are starting early. The Gilgo Beach murders, there's a hearing tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Eastern. So we're going to watch that and go over a little bit of all of that stuff that has been happening. And then we have a really cool interview tomorrow. I'm so excited. We have a host of Body Bags, Joseph Scott Morgan. He's going to be on, and he has followed the Lori Vallow trial. He followed She Business. He is also I mean, I'll go over it tomorrow. Anyway, there's a whole lot of stuff. He's like the bee's knees. So I'm excited.
I just listened to his episode on She Business, the most recent one.
Yeah.
Oh, buddy. I thought I understood what she had done. I did not understand what she had done.
Yeah.
He explained what she had done.
In that episode too, when he talks about the foot, like putting Jennifer, yay, happy 3-month anniversary.
Thank you, Jennifer. Yeah, the foot.
Yeah, when he talks about the foot. Yeah, I'm gonna ask about that tomorrow too.
Yeah.
He's death investigator. He's like, all things like total forensics guru. So I am excited to get to talk to him, pick his brain. So any of the questions that y'all have, I get up at 5 every morning. I've got until we start the first stream at 8. So tomorrow morning, sometime between 5 and 8, I am going to compile the questions that everybody has. So make sure you send them in tonight, because if you think about it, whatever, I'm going to try to compile the list tonight. So, he's
to our
so
email.
cool. Yeah.
Well, send them to
And a
Brandy's
professor, Jacksonville State. So my uncles, both of my uncles went there too. So that's kind of cool. All righty, y'all. I am taking off. It has been a long day. I've been in this chair since 5 something this morning, and I am running over to the other side of the room to go to bed. But I will see y'all. I will see y'all in the morning. I appreciate everybody. Y'all have fun.
Bye.
Bye.
Where'd you go? Let's get into this, shall we? We've got just a little bit more of this one, and then we'll move on to the next one.
Well, your question doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't make sense to you. Why is that, man? Because you're moving the relationship ahead by providing the KY, right?
I don't know. We would have used something else if it wasn't KY.
Well, you might have used something else if it wasn't KY, but you provided the something else, didn't you? The KY.
In this case, Jennifer. I did, yes.
Well, we're not talking about any other cases, ma'am. We're talking about this case. You were the one that had the KY or brought it into the relationship to make it better, right?
To facilitate our activities.
Sure. And that would make them better if it facilitated your activities, right?
Yes.
And yet you're telling us that. And on the other hand, you're telling us, well, I felt like a prostitute. Which one is it?
Well, when he jizzes on my face and throws candy my way and walks away without a word, it kind of feels like I was a prostitute. And when we're mutually going through sexual activity and there happens to be KY there, it's mutual.
And you're saying that the offensive thing here was the jizz on your face, right?
I didn't say it was offensive because I knew it was coming and I willingly participated in it.
Well, no, but that's sort of how
phrasing.
you're making it sound like it's something that you didn't want, right?
I'm 2 years old.
If I didn't want it, then I wouldn't have done it.
Well, let's see what a text message that you actually sent him involving that activity.
Well, welcome back to night court, y'all. Welcome back to night court.
Oh yeah, that's what she said.
Let's take a look at another exhibit.
Oh boy.
Let's take a look at exhibits 489 and 488. 488 does not include Mr. Alexander's responses, but 489 does. Take a look at those.
Yes, sir.
Check, please.
And these are text messages that you sent out referencing the particular sex act that we've been talking about, right?
No, this took place in his bedroom, not on the porch.
But it talks about the same sex act, doesn't it? Oral sex, doesn't it?
Oral sex, ejaculating on the face, yes.
Okay.
Didn't mean to beep that. Oops. But probably should have. This is Jodi Arias. It happened in 2013. The crime happened in 2008. It lasted from the beginning of January to the beginning of May. And she was on the stand as a defendant for 18 days. Oof. Oof. Man, I rattled off that information like it was nothing. And that is concerning. I almost felt like Brandi for just a second. Then I realized I didn't know half of what I should.
We approach.
This guy's sitting here on his cell phone, his iPhone 2.
489 is admitted.
Oh boy.
Let's take a look at exhibit 489. Ma'am, the date on that is January 18th of 2008, correct?
Yes,
And again, we've already talked about the times, that this is 7 hours too fast, correct?
that's correct.
And it does say that it's an incoming message, right?
Yes,
Which means, you previously told us, that incoming means that it's you that is sending this text message, right?
that's right.
And then this is what the text message reads. Will do. The reason I was asking about later tonight is because I want to give you a nice BJ. BJ stands for what?
Blowjob.
And blowjob means, without getting blowjob means that you put your mouth on his penis, right?
Yes, oral sex.
Right. And in addition to it, you say,
I'm glad we
and
clarified
I'd
that.
like a generous facial in return, right?
Yes.
That means that you want him to ejaculate on your face, right?
Cheap banks! Cheap banks!
One of the things that you talked about previously, feeling like a prostitute, involved a situation where he came over to your house, right?
Yes,
On the porch, right?
that's right.
And this is what happened, what is said here in this exhibit, right?
This is a different event, but just that part, yes.
It may be a different event, but it's the same act, correct?
Yes,
And then on one occasion, he just did it, and on another occasion, he actually is when he left the chocolate, right?
yes,
And what you're saying is you found the other one and you felt like a prostitute, even though you're the one that's asking for him to do that on January 18th of 2008, right?
I love that button.
this is another night, but yes.
So
I'm not asking him to do those two things that you just referenced. I'm asking, I went over to his house. We were in his bedroom on his bed.
Right.
That
But
kind of thing.
But it's the same act, isn't it?
Yes.
And so you want him to do to you what happened on the porch, right? Same act.
Yes. Well, no, I didn't want to kneel like on my porch and have him walk away from me when he was done.
But I'm talking about the sexual act itself. Isn't it the same thing?
Yes.
And so, yet one of them you describe as leaving you feeling like a prostitute, yet this one, which is the same thing, you're requesting it, right?
Yes. Well, no. Not, I don't know what you mean by same thing. If you're talking about jizz on your face, it's the same thing. As far as the context, it's completely different.
Right. What you're talking about
To
is
prove the
geography,
fact that
right?
Geography, mood, setting.
wasn't-
all that.
You're talking about one being on the porch and this one being in
he
his
wasn't
house,
as
right?
aggressive. Excuse me, he wasn't as
Yes.
aggressive as she
Putting aside
made him out to
geography,
sound.
that one happened in the front of the porch and one happened in his house, isn't it the same act?
Yes, it is.
He thinks we're
And
talking
this
about
is
the
one that
Seinfeld
you are
movie
requesting,
B.
right?
That's right.
And we know that because you say, what do you say, right?
Yes.
And actually then he says, or we can just grind, right?
I think I said that. That's,
Okay, then you say that, or we can just grind, correct?
yes,
And he's
Were
saying
there
something
beeps?
to the effect of,
It
that's
weren't
a
me.
good close, right?
right.
So we can get our terms straight. Grinding is a sexual term for those in the Mormon community, correct?
Well, I think
Qualified.
it is. Usually Mormons typically do it with their clothes on, but we did it without our clothes.
And when you say that they
Good
do it with their
clarification.
clothes on, that means that they rub their genitalia together, correct? And they call it
That's-
grinding, correct?
Yes,
But you and Mr. Alexander did it without your clothes on, right?
yes.
And was KY involved in this grinding activity?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
And it would involve, if you will, sexual intimacy, correct?
Yes.
All right.
All right, we'll take the afternoon recess. Please be back in the designated area at 3:20. Please remember the admonition, you are excused. Please be seated. The
Oh,
record
that's
will
a new
show
view.
the
Oh, no,
jury
it's
has
not.
left the courtroom. Mr. Nermy, did you have anything else you wanted to put on the record?
Yes, Your Honor, a couple of issues regarding
I'm out of milk
Ms.
duds.
Arias and that
Travis.
directly relate to her health and ability to be prepared for trial. One is that Ms. Arias has not, throughout the course of this trial, had access to lunches. The sheriff's office has not provided them to her. And my first request is that this court order that they do so. My second request related to that is related to the migraine she's having and the feeding therein that we, and I misspoke a little bit earlier about 4:20, but as long as we're out of here done by 4:30 as opposed to letting it go past, we should be fine in that regard. Just as
So
long as
bad.
we do make 4:30 a drop dead time.
That's a
All right, as we
terrible
discussed
phrase.
earlier, I believe the sheriff's office has agreed to provide lunches. And I will inquire and let you know tomorrow. Anything else, counsel?
No, thank you.
10:15 tomorrow. Thank you. We're adjourned.
That after your experience or your time in Ehrenberg with Mr. Alexander, that you felt like a prostitute, right?
Yes.
But you've made other statements with regard to your experiences in Ehrenberg, haven't you?
Yes.
Let's take a look at an exhibit, which is exhibit number, get that from the clerk. It's exhibit 490, which comes from your an excerpt from your conversation on May 10th of 2008 with Mr. Alexander. Let's listen to it and see if that's your voice, and then we'll move it in.
What? Cringe.
And it goes away quickly, the body absorbs it. Okay, well, you just keep spreading it on as you need it, and you keep sliding around. Remember the first time that you and I grinded at Ehrenberg, and we both, like, I knew this coming, and you're like, whoa, I came. When you came at the same time, I looked around, and there's just jizz, like, all over. It was so hot.
Oh,
We came together. That was so cool.
Ehrenberg.
Yeah.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Think about that when you drive through there.
Oh yeah, always.
So do I.
Because why?
Ma'am, that's your voice on there, right?
Yes.
And that's you and Mr. Alexander discussing what may have happened in Ehrenberg, correct?
Yes.
Finish her!
Finish her!
What did happen?
What happened in Ehrenberg then, right?
Yes.
And you were talking in very fond tones about that experience in this clip that we just played, weren't you?
Yes.
And it was because it was fun, right?
Yes.
And it was something that you enjoyed, right?
Yes.
So when you tell us that you felt like a prostitute, it really does, it seems to be contradicted by what's on Exhibit 490, right?
Not if you understand why I said that.
Well, you do say that you enjoyed the visit to Ehrenberg, correct?
Yes.
You do enjoy the sex in Ehrenberg, correct?
Yes.
I move for the admission of Exhibit 490.
Objection.
490 is admitted.
And we also had another conversation involving Ehrenberg.
Don't sigh, Jody. You asked for it. You
with,
got up there.
People from 48 Hours, right?
Yes.
Yes, I sure can.
Let me have that marked as an exhibit.
Is this better?
Stupid idiot.
Hopefully that's better. Guilty as charged.
I move for the admission of Exhibit 491.
No additional objection, Your Honor.
491 is admitted.
Just tell me more about him. Like what it was that was special about him.
He really was an amazing person to know. He was generous, one of the most generous people that I've ever encountered. There was one point where we were in Ehrenberg. I think that's Arizona. It's right on the border of Arizona or California. It's Ehrenberg. And we were driving up, we were hitting the freeway to go to a movie theater. And we stopped at the stop sign to get onto the freeway, and there was a lady there holding a sign.
But
I don't remember if it said, "We'll work for food," or "Hungry," or "God bless," or something like
I was
that.
a theater kid.
But either way, he pulled over. We were in his BMW, rolled down the window, and he said, "Are you hungry?" And she said, "Yeah." And so with that, he turns around and we go to Wendy's and we get the triple decker that Wendy's sells and the biggie fries and the biggest drink that you could get. And we drove back and gave it to her, and she was really grateful. And she just went over and sat down away from the freeway and started eating and had dinner that night. So just little examples like that. That's just one of so many that people could tell you about his generosity. So there were so many attractive qualities about him. He was very kind. When I moved to Mesa originally, I downsized from a house to a room. And I didn't have a place to put my art. I didn't have a place to put my books and some of the things that were really precious to me. So he allowed me to use, he had so much storage available in his home. So he allowed me to use a lot of that storage to put things in his home, in his garage or in his closet, in his office and things like that. So and it wasn't even a question. He was just like, put it at my house. It wasn't like he was doing me this big favor. It was just like, of course, why think twice about it? So he never was showy about how generous he was. It just was like second nature to him.
Man, when you first described this visit to Ehrenberg, you told us something that was a little bit different than what we heard right now, right?
Yes, according to the questions I was asked.
Well, yes or no?
Yes.
And you told us about going to Sizzler, right?
Yes.
You told us about him grabbing your rear end, right?
Yes.
You told us about the sexual encounters, right?
Yes.
You told us that really wasn't a romantic weekend at all.
No, it wasn't.
And in fact, the indication from you, from the witness stand, was that this was a pretty bad weekend all the way around, wasn't it?
No, I didn't say that.
Well, your indication was that all he wanted was sex, right?
It seemed that way.
Well, if it seemed that way, that was your belief, right?
Not at the time, but in retrospect, yes.
So as you said here today, it looked like, or not looked like, all he wanted was sex, right?
Mostly.
Well,
Not
is
all,
it
but
yes or
mostly.
no?
Mostly.
And when you got there, according to you,
yes.
that's the first thing that happened, right?
Yes.
And then you guys sat around at some point and started to look at TV or watch TV, correct?
Yes.
And at some point you went out to dinner,
Somewhere
right?
with the sizzler.
Yes.
And at another point you went to the movies, right?
Yes.
And you indicated that, well, to you, that was, the way you said it, it wasn't a very romantic weekend, right?
Not overly romantic. In fact, there wasn't really any romance that
Ma'am,
weekend.
I'm not asking you to embellish right now. I'm asking you whether or not you told us before that it was not a romantic
to
weekend.
embellish.
That's what you said on
He's
direct,
lying.
correct?
Yes.
And you didn't tell us about this circumstance where he stopped and he gave this woman this burger from Wendy's either, did you?
No.
It appears that there are two sides to what went on in Ehrenberg, doesn't it?
No.
Well, it appears that there's the side that we just heard from where you enjoyed the sex, right?
Yes.
A side where you and he were driving around, correct?
Yes.
And he helped some homeless person, right?
I think she was homeless.
Well, it's somebody that was standing there at the side of the road, right?
Yes.
And with some sort of sign. And it looks like this is based on what we heard from the previous excerpt. It looks like you were sort of reminiscing back on May 10th of 2008, reminiscing in a very positive fashion, right?
May 10th, 2000. Oh, yes. I was.
That's the phone call that we just listened to prior to this.
Yes.
And it looked like you were reminiscing in a very positive fashion, right?
Yes.
Not the same picture that you presented previously with regard to the Ehrenberg meeting, correct?
I was asked about a different time frame.
Ma'am.
So then that would be correct.
So the answer is that is correct.
Yes.
Right? One of the other things that was presented in this case was that it appeared that Mr. Alexander, from what you presented, was an individual that was
All right.
totally
Did anybody else see her hand? Because I saw her hand.
into.
Oh no, I missed it. Her hand looked
So the
perfectly
answer is
fine.
that is correct.
Yes.
Is it just me? Or did that finger look...
One of the other things that
Wait for it. Wait for it.
was presented in this case was that it appeared that Mr. Alexander, from what you presented,
Oh, that looked... Come on now. The middle finger looks a little weird. But her ring finger looks perfectly fine. Perfectly fine.
was an individual that was totally into sex, correct?
Yes.
And that's when he was with you, correct?
Me and other girls.
Well, had you ever been in a bedroom with him and another girl?
Congrats.
Yes.
And the three of you had sex?
No.
So when you say that he had sex with other women, you really don't know if that's true or not, do you?
If he was telling me the truth, then it's true.
Well, ma'am, I'm not asking you what he told you. I'm asking from your personal experience in terms of the situations that you know about. You don't really know of any other circumstances where he had sex with anybody else, right?
I do know.
And you're talking because you were there and you were watching his penis go inside them. Is that what you're saying?
No.
You're just telling us that because of some conversations that you may have had with somebody else, correct?
Him.
Other people, right?
Just one person.
And as we know, people don't lie, do they?
That's not necessarily true.
Well, no, people don't lie. That's what you're telling us right now because you're saying that somebody told me that it must be true.
I said if.
Ma'am, you're saying that it's based on what somebody told you, right?
Based on what Travis told me, yes.
And people have a tendency to embellish things sometimes, don't they?
Yes.
Just like you in this case, correct?
Not on the stand, but in this case, yes.
Haven't you lied from the very start of this case until, according to you, you got on the witness stand?
No.
Well, you're saying that you're not lying here, that what you're telling us is the truth, right?
Yes.
But you are telling us that when you spoke with the detective, that wasn't true, correct? Whatever it is that you told him.
Well, some things were not true. Most things.
Most things were true? Is that what you're saying?
Some things were not true.
Did you lie to the detective, yes or no?
Yes.
And did you lie to him on 2 occasions?
More than 2, yes.
You sit on a throne
I'm
of
talking about
lies.
2 days. Did you lie to him
Yes.
on 2 days? And did you also lie to 48 hours?
Yes.
Did you lie to people in Utah?
Yes.
Did you lie to Daniel Freeman?
Yes, everyone.
Right, so you lied to a lot of people, but you're saying that just because you are sitting here in this courtroom, there has been, for lack of a better term, a conversion, and you're now telling the truth, right?
For lack of a better term, yes.
And the same thing with regard to whatever Mr. Alexander tells you, everything that he says, you believe, right?
Not necessarily.
Well, but you do believe the part about the sexual encounters, right?
Yes.
Did you ever talk to the women that were involved to confirm it?
No.
So you don't have any confirmation from these women as to whether or not it happened, right?
No.
And it appears, however, though, that this sexual interest that he had was directed towards you, wasn't it?
Some of it.
No, most of it, or all of it. Wasn't it directed towards you?
Not all of it. Some of it. Most of it. I don't know. Maybe during the time we were together, most of it. I don't know.
Well, let's take a look at it and see what was said during May 10th of 2008 about that. And I'll ask you after I play it to see whether or not that is your voice and whether it is part of the previous clip that we played.
Yes. Be moved to be admitted before it's published.
Then I'll move for the admission of the 492.
No objection.
492 is admitted.
Yeah, you are right, though, that in the bath. Oh, God.
Oh, when we took a bath together?
Uh-huh.
That was surreal, like, honestly. And I think, maybe the candlelight and the bubbles all had something to do with it, but you were amazing. You made me, seriously, you made me feel like a goddess. Like, I wasn't saying you were, like, worshiping me, but you were.
Oh my God,
you made
who
me
the
feel like I
hell
was
cares?
the most freaking beautiful woman on the whole planet.
You are a meathead.
Like, I so felt like I was the goddess. And so, aside from all those warm, fuzzy feelings, but like, it was so sexy and it was so hot. And oh,
Look,
God.
let me tell you a little story about a man named Shh.
Oh, that wasn't hard to make you shine away because you were freaking, you were hot.
What?
You are serious, but honey, I don't want to question right now for that. You're touching yourself.
I am already.
I just started.
Not today, Satan. Not
I
today.
wish those were my hands giving you a hand job.
You demon!
Honey, so, like, before I met you, I never checked off. Once I started meeting, I don't know, like once a month, once every 2 weeks. Like, when people ask, I check off every day, sometimes 2-3 times a day.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Well, it's always just a fucking.
Oh, please, right now.
Can we not?
I wish you were here.
Can we just stop?
If you were here, my grandparents would
Are you
sleep
kidding
over
me?
you right in my bedroom. We'd shut and lock the door, and we would just have a big fuck fest.
The ultimate shade of it all.
Voice, right?
Yes.
That's
Thank
him
God.
telling
Thank you.
That in terms of his sexual activity, masturbation specifically, he didn't masturbate before he met you, right?
No, he didn't say that. He said he hardly ever did.
Well, man, perhaps we should listen to it again.
No.
So we can hear that.
No one.
You're saying that he's
No
not saying,
one.
I don't
No
know.
one. No one.
Before I met you, I never jacked off. I want you to take a listen to that.
No. No one. No one.
You are right, though, that in the bath. Oh,
Jesus.
When we took a bath together.
Oh, no.
That was surreal, as honestly. And I think, I mean, maybe the candlelight and the bubbles all had something to do with it, but
84 years.
For
you
those
were
of you just
amazing.
joining
You made
in.
me seriously,
Welcome to
you
the
made me
party,
feel like
pal.
a goddess.
Stupid idiot.
I wasn't saying you were
So
like
dumb.
worshiping me, but you made me feel like I was the most freaking beautiful woman on the whole planet. Like, I so felt like I was the goddess. And so, aside from all
Goddess
those
of
warm,
what?
fuzzy feelings, but like, it
Oh,
was,
God.
it
I'm
was
going
so
to talk
sexy
this
and it was
entire
so
time.
hot. And oh,
I don't,
gosh.
Joanna. I don't wanna. The Chris Jericho
Oh,
quit. Let's
That wasn't hard to
go.
make you file away because you were freaking.
At some
You-
point, I
you
had
were
you just
hot.
made the list.
You
But here you go. Here's this
you
one's
are
good.
serious
I got a
about
fever.
all close right now.
And the only prescription is more cowbell.
Ron,
I am already.
where are you? I'm in a glass case of emotion. Well, Lottie, freaking
My hands, giving you a hand.
Nope. No, you don't. No, you don't.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
Did you hear that?
Yes.
He said,
There's a good
"Honey,
reason you
before I
couldn't
met
hear
you,
it.
I never
We heard it
jacked
the first
off, right?
time.
Yes.
And you have no reason to doubt that, do you?
I have plenty of reason to doubt that. Yes, I do have reason to doubt that.
And you're basing your previous statements to us about him being with other women on what he told you, right?
Yes.
And yet we have him here via this technical medium telling us that he never jacked off before he met you. Isn't that what he's saying?
Yes.
And so what you're saying is that, well, I'll believe him when it's to my benefit, but I won't believe him when it's not.
Yes, in this contrast, this is testimony, we're talking about apples and oranges, sex versus masturbation.
Overruled. You may answer the question.
It's more like.
I don't know because I don't think that's to my benefit or not either way.
Well, what you're saying to me is I'll believe him when he tells me that he's having some sort of intimacies with other women. You told us that you believe that, right?
Yeah.
And you
I
believe
do.
that without talking to the women, right?
Yes.
Yeah, when we
Worst
hear
part is they
him
probably
in
previewed
court
these
saying
before he
that he
played them.
never masturbated or jacked off before he met you, you're saying you won't believe that, right?
Based on what he's also
Yes
told me,
or
then
no?
that would be no, because he has jacked off.
Yes or no? You won't believe what he just said there, right?
It wasn't consistent, so no.
So no, you don't believe him, right?
No, I don't believe that.
And in fact, with regard to this recording, the person that was recording it was you, right?
Yes.
It wasn't him, right?
No.
And you're saying that it was for his benefit though, right? That's what you told us on direct examination, right?
No, I didn't say for his benefit. It was for us to listen to.
Well, it was actually for your benefit, wasn't it?
I don't see how.
Well, in terms of who had control of it, that was you, right?
Control of the recording?
Yes, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about a recording that you made on May 10th of 2008. Are we clear on that?
Yes.
That recording was in your control, right?
Yes.
It was never in Mr. Alexander's control, was it?
No.
So that if anybody was going to enjoy that recording, it was you.
No.
Well, if anybody had it, it was you then, right?
I had it, yes.
And if anybody wanted to hear it again, that would be, the only person that could do that would be you, right?
That's not right.
How is it that Mr. Alexander could hear it if you were the only person who had it?
That's what we were trying to figure out, how to replay it for him.
Ma'am, you
Who's on
still had
first?
control
What's
of it though,
on second?
didn't you?
I don't know. Who's
For
on
about a
third?
week I did.
Well, yes or no, did you have control of it?
Yes, for a week.
You keep saying for a week. Are you saying that you then gave it to him?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
All right, so, but you did have control of this recording in the sense that it was in your telephone, right?
Yes.
It was never in Mr. Alexander's possession, right?
No.
So if anybody wanted to listen to it, they would have to go through you, right?
Yes.
At that time, yes.
Well, what time do you think we're talking about, ma'am?
I'm talking about for the week following the recording.
I'm talking about.
Beyond that, then the answer would be no.
The week following the recording, you keep referencing that. Did something happen to the record? Did you give the recording to Mr. Alexander after a week?
No.
One was
Did you
definitely
give this recording to
prosecutor
Mr. Alexander after 2 or 3
or
weeks?
this defendant.
No, I never gave it to him.
That's true. So if anybody was going to enjoy this recording, it wasn't Mr. Alexander because he didn't have control of it, right?
That wasn't the purpose of the recording, so that would be
Did I
no.
ask you what the purpose of the recording was, ma'am?
No.
I asked you if anybody was going to enjoy the fruits of this, whatever it was, it would have been you, right?
It would have been Travis.
Oh, so Travis was going to enjoy it even though he had no control over it, right?
I don't know how to answer that.
Why don't you know how to answer that?
Because the way your
one
question is
ma'am,
phrased.
excuse me. You were the one that was in control of it, right?
Yes.
And you were the one that
She's trying so
actually
hard to control
created that
this.
recording, right?
We both created the recording.
Well, no, that's not true.
No.
Was
that's not
he
how that
pushing
works.
the button over and over to keep this recording going? Or
No, I
was that
was.
you?
I was.
So you created it then, right?
I recorded it. We both created it together.
No, you recorded it, which means that's how it came into being.
This is like the
He had
Amber
nothing to
Heard
do with the
thing.
recording, did
Did
he?
she donate or
I don't
not?
agree with that.
Right?
Overruled.
Is it not?
No, I don't
This is
agree with that.
exactly what happened.
So you're saying that somehow he was pushing a button in Mesa so that this recording would come about? Is that what you're saying?
That's not what I'm saying.
Well, technologically speaking, ma'am, the only person that was in control of creating this recording was you, right?
That's correct.
And he was a
I know
player,
she
if you will, or one of the protagonists in this little tete-a-tete, whatever went on, right?
That's correct.
And so he didn't even know he was being recorded.
That's not correct.
Well, does he ever say at any point in that whole recording that we ever hear, could you record this for me? He doesn't say that, does he?
No, it was already recording.
Ma'am, does it say in that recording any words from Mr. Alexander that say anything to the effect that he knows that he's being recorded?
Not yet.
I don't think so.
Not yet.
When you say you don't think so, you were there when it was actually created, right?
Yes.
You were here when it was played, right?
Yes.
So you're familiar with this, right?
Yes.
And nowhere is there any indication
You guys
that
think it's
Mr.
bad for
Alexander
you.
even
I
knew
gotta
that
see
he was
Jodi on
being
both
recorded,
screens.
right?
No, I don't think either of us say anything about it being recorded.
And you didn't tell him throughout this whole, from what we heard, you didn't tell him that he was being recorded, right?
I wouldn't have needed to. We already knew.
Ma'am, yes or no?
No.
In this recording, did you tell him that he was being recorded?
I answered no.
So, and you had this recording for whatever purposes you wanted to use it, right?
Yes.
You could have posted it on the internet if you wanted to, right?
In theory, yes, I could have.
Well, that can be done. You know how to do that, right?
No, I didn't know how to get anything off the phone at that time, but if that was my goal, I could have figured that out.
Yes.
Sure. And this recording that you had, for whatever reason, you chose not to erase it, right?
Not for a week.
Did you erase it after a week? Is that what you're saying?
I didn't have the opportunity. So no, I did not erase it after a week.
Pardon?
No, I didn't.
So, and you just said something about you didn't have an opportunity to erase it after a week. If this was on the 10th, what happened on May 17th that prevented you from
except Jody
having it erased?
Well, it may not have been exactly a week. I think it may have been the 18th instead of the 17th. But I believed that my phone was stolen and it was actually lost for about, a few years. It didn't.
So according to you, this phone was stolen for approximately a couple of years, right?
Yes, I reported it stolen with the police and I had insurance on the phone, so they replaced a new one for me.
And then it resurfaced, right?
Yes.
All of a sudden.
And, yesterday when we talked about this issue involving recordings and that sort of thing and specifically involving Mr. Alexander's penis, one of the things that you told us was that, yes, I was the one that downloaded it onto the hard drive of my computer, right? Do you remember telling us that?
Yes.
If you would have been offended, ma'am, you could have deleted that photograph, right?
If I was offended.
Yeah, you could have, but you didn't do that, right?
Right, I wasn't offended.
Not today, Satan. Not today.
Yep, there it is. Make her wait.
Recording, it also gives us a view into what your views are about the sexual relationship that you had with Mr. Alexander, doesn't it?
That woman on the back desk
In
loves
fact,
her
in it, you
Sylvie.
indicate that you want to blossom sexually, right?
Yes.
And that he's the person that you want to help you blossom sexually, correct?
I didn't say want, I said I have with him and that I would like to in the future with somebody else.
Well, let's take a look so that we're totally clear about what you said.
Oh boy. Is this a disc? I hope it's not a disc. Oh, she does. Little did she know that the song WAP would come out later on.
No objection.
493 is admitted.
Jody, you're like an episode of Barney at this point. Oh, there's always a coffer.
You're not joking. I mean, like there are times when we just, I'm trying to think of an example. There's been a few times where I've been bold enough to just pull you onto the bed and start. And
check, please.
Oh my gosh! Do you remember that time I came to visit you when I was still living in California, and I fell asleep on your chair next to your bed, and you just like woke me up by pulling my pants off and totally licking my pussy?
Yeah.
I was so embarrassed because I just like got my Brazilian on and I was like worried about what it looked like, and I was like, and the lights were bright and they were on. I was all self-conscious. But I remember that was hot. I was totally tired and I was asleep. And I would have been completely content just cuddling with you once we got into bed, but you had another agenda.
You gotta admit though, like there's not many guys that
The ultimate shade
Well, see, that's
of
the
it
thing. Like, I don't know
all.
what the ratio is, but I get the impression that I mean, it's kind of an awkward subject to bring up, but eventually we're both going to remarry people, and I just get the feeling that there aren't a lot of Mormon guys like that. And there may or may not. I'm sure there are plenty of freaky Mormon girls, but are they the marrying type? I shouldn't say that. I'm just saying, are they the type that you'd want to marry, or are the guys out there the type that I'd want to marry?
If there are any.
I don't know. Sure. Like, I really would like to marry a return missionary, but like you, someone who can be freaky. Like, I just worry about that. There are plenty of nice people out there, but I'm like, I worry that I might feel like a wilting flower is all, who never really blossomed to her full potential, at least in the sexual realm. I feel like I have with you, but like I still have plenty of blossom time left. And I want to live all those years being that way. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, I'm going to enjoy your blossom and I can look there.
Yeah.
I'm going to tie you to a tree and put it in your ass, by the way.
What's that?
I'm going to tie you to a tree and put it in your ass.
Oh my God. That is so debasing. I like it.
Man, you did hear the talk there as it started about a situation where he woke you up in a sexual fashion, didn't he?
Yes.
Do you remember on direct examination also telling us that on a previous occasion when you first had vaginal intercourse with him that he woke you up in a similar fashion, right?
Well, similarly, yes.
Well, what you told us at that time was that you were asleep. Do you remember telling us that?
Yes.
And that he pulled your panties or whatever it was that you were wearing down below, correct?
Which time?
The time that you claimed that he placed his penis inside you.
I don't know. I wasn't awake for that. My panties were missing.
Okay. What was that now?
They were missing when I woke up.
So, but you went to bed with them on, right?
I woke up without them still and I had to look for them.
Well, ma'am, do you remember testifying on direct examination that you had your panties on and that he took your panties off? Do you remember testifying to that?
I assumed he took them off.
Well, I'm not asking you to assume anything right now. I'm asking you whether or not you remember that that's what you testified to.
Yes, I remember that.
And as part of that encounter, one of the things that you told us was that he went inside you, right?
Yes.
And he didn't have permission, right?
Like it was a seaside cottage.
I guess
He just went
technically not.
right inside.
Well, no, not technically. That's what you told us. Do you remember telling us that?
I remember my attorney asking me if
Ma'am, I'm not asking you what your attorney asked you. I don't care about his questions. I care about your answers. My question to you, isn't it true that you responded or told us that he was doing it without your permission and that you didn't like it?
I don't remember that. I don't remember characterizing it that way.
And so you did like it when he went inside you?
Objection, that's characterized as a testimony. She was asleep.
Overruled.
Yeah, overruled. She's
It wasn't
lying.
really like or dislike. I was just worried is all.
You say that you're worried. So, and my question to you is, if you liked it or didn't like it, did you express any preference either way to Mr. Alexander?
I don't think I did.
Did you forget what you told us that you did after that?
I said his name after that.
And then what after that, what did you remember that you told us that you did?
That he, well, when I said his name and I kind of tried to get out from underneath him, his thrusts quickened, and then after that, we sort of broke apart and he pushed my head under the covers.
Right. So that's the same, we're talking about the same encounter, right?
Yes.
And it was consensual though, even though you were asleep, wasn't it?
Objection, Your Honor, that mischaracterizes.
Stupid idiot.
Overruled. You may answer.
Well, I didn't object to it.
So if you didn't object to it, it meant it was consensual, right?
Objection, Your Honor, mischaracterizes. She was asleep.
Approach.
You may proceed.
You thought it was okay. When he placed his penis inside you while you were asleep, right?
Yes, maybe just not morally, but other than that, I thought it was okay.
Ma'am, is it yes?
It's yes and no, but mostly yes, I guess.
The no part in you, that didn't report it to the police, right?
That wouldn't have been the no part. So no.
the no part that didn't want it, that didn't get on the telephone and call the police, did it?
Of course not, no.
So the answer is no, you didn't call the police, right?
That's the answer.
You didn't stop the sexual encounter at that point either, did you?
I attempted to stop the intercourse, but not the whole sexual encounter.
So the answer is no, you didn't stop the sexual encounter, correct?
Correct.
In fact, you continued on with the sexual encounter until you tell us there was a sexual release on his part, right?
Yes.
You never indicated to him afterwards not to do that, right?
No.
And in fact, what we just heard was you lauding him or praising him for waking you up, engaging in intercourse, oral intercourse with you, right?
Yes.
So it's the same thing, only something different is going inside your body without getting too graphic, isn't it?
Well, I was awake when there was any kind of penetration on that account, so
Well, no.
it's somewhat similar, I would say.
Ma'am, do you want to hear this again where you indicated that you say you woke me up by pulling my pants off and licking my pussy?
Yes.
So he did wake you up in the same fashion, didn't he?
I was awoken as my pants were coming off. So yeah, similar, yes.
And you didn't have any problem with that, right?
I was embarrassed, but other than that, no.
When you say that you were embarrassed, you weren't embarrassed because of the sexual act. You were embarrassed because of the fact that you had just taken some cosmetic approach to your pelvic area, correct?
Yes, and the lights were bright, yes.
Right. But other than that, you didn't have any objection to it, right?
That's right.
And you wanted to continue to blossom, right?
Yes.
And you wanted to continue, and you wanted to blossom sexually, right?
Yes.
So that when we hear, for example, that there was this situation where, of the many that you've described, where he comes over to your house, for example, on the porch, and you guys do whatever it is that you do, that's part of the blossoming process, isn't it?
I would say so.
and all the other activity that occurred between the two of you, including, for example, this telephone call that took place between two consenting adults, that's also part of the blossoming process, right?
I guess so.
Well, no, you were there, right?
Well, I'm talking about sex, and I didn't have sex while I was on the phone, so.
And you told us that for you, it takes two hands, right?
Yeah.
And so with regard to this particular conversation, you just didn't have any fun at all, right?
No, I wasn't saying that.
Well, your words and your demeanor speak for themselves on the telephone, correct?
Yes.
And one of the other things that we know from that conversation in terms of your blossoming is that you and Mr. Alexander discussed making a movie, right?
Yes.
And you discussed making a sexual movie, correct?
Yes.
And it wasn't like you were telling him, no, I don't want to do that sexual movie. You actually were into it as
on
much
a
as he was,
regular
right?
basis.
Yes.
And in fact, as part of the sexual blossoming, there are other things that
we do.
You asked him to do for you, didn't you?
Yes.
Let's take a look at some of them.
Well, not this one, but yes, unfortunately, yes.
Take a look at Exhibit 494. Recognize that?
Yes.
These are two text messages that you sent to Mr. Alexander, correct?
Yes.
What is the date of those?
The date is February 25th.
And there is a time there, but as you previously told us when you first testified on direct, that time is 7 hours ahead of what the real time is, correct?
That's correct.
Move to the admission of Exhibit 494.
Objection.
494 submitted.
Let's take a look at what 494 says.
She's so doggone smug. Boy.
This is you sending him this text message, right?
Yes.
And this was part of the relationship that you had with him, right?
That's right.
There
I'm
was a
reading
sexual
y'all's chat.
component
I
to
might
it,
not
wasn't
put it
there?
up, but
Yes.
I'm reading
And
it.
it was always a component that you partook of as much as he did, right?
Yes.
And in it you say, if you're a lucky boy and you promise to give me a good, well-deserved spanking, and then there's a period there, right?
Yes.
Good question.
And then you also say, maybe you could
One
give
moment,
my
please.
ass a too much needed pounding too. Kidding, correct?
Yes.
You're kidding about the second portion, but not the first portion, correct?
Yes.
Take a look at Exhibit 495.
No. She does not.
Do you recognize that series of
She
text
probably
messages?
doesn't need one, to be honest with you.
Yes.
And those also involve some sexual activities between the two of you, correct?
Yes. Well, ones we're anticipating.
Pardon?
Ones we're planning on.
And the
So
date on this is
happy
February
with herself.
26th of 08, correct?
26?
Disgusting.
Well, let me have you look at it. At least that's what it says.
It would have been the 25th, but it says the 26th.
And that's because of the 7-hour issue that we've talked about before.
That's right.
I move for the admission of Exhibit 495.
She's literally biting the inside of her mouth to keep her from smiling.
Oh, yes. Take a look at exhibit 495. You start out by saying, oh my gosh, this is so freaking hot, I want to lick it up, and then sit on it. You are so tasty, my goodness, correct?
Yes.
You were talking about his penis, right?
Yes, he sent me a photo of it.
And it appears he did send you a photograph, correct?
Yes.
You were not offended by him sending you a photograph, correct?
No.
Even though we had a photograph here that was introduced, it was the same sort of photograph as the one that was introduced at trial, right?
Yes.
Nothing different than the one that was here that was introduced. In other words, it was his penis and whatever was happening with it, correct?
In that regard, nothing was different.
And in fact, he then said, I'm glad you like it, right?
Yes.
And then you said, oh yes, I want to fuck you like a dirty, horny little schoolgirl, right?
Yes.
So the schoolgirl issue here in this conversation is being brought up by you, not by him, right?
That's right.
And in fact, this issue about the schoolgirl that may have been presented as part of the conversation on May 10th of 2008, well, you were enjoying that too, weren't you?
I don't think we said schoolgirl.
They're allowed to have
Pardon?
safety
I don't think I
razors.
said schoolgirl on the
I'm pretty
tape.
sure.
But as far as that goes, yes.
Yeah. You like dressing up like a horny little schoolgirl, for lack of a better term, right?
Well, I think I said on direct I didn't have a schoolgirl outfit, but it was kind of, that was the idea.
Her safety razor.
You did enjoy dressing up for him, right?
Yes.
And you enjoyed, at least indicating here, in February of 2008,
This is what they look like.
that it had to do with looking like a little schoolgirl, correct?
That looks comfy, doesn't it?
I guess so, yeah.
Well,
That
no, you keep
looks
saying you guess so, but
comfy.
isn't that what you wrote?
No, I didn't say look in that text message.
Pardon?
You said looking like, and I don't see that in the text
All
message.
right, so, okay, let's read it. I want to fuck you like a dirty, horny little schoolgirl. So that implies that you are dressed up in a certain fashion, right?
Yes.
And it also implies that, or indicates that it's you that's the person that likes this sort of activity and looking like a horny little schoolgirl, right?
Yes.
Right?
Although we heard previously some talk about braids and that it was only him that wanted that. It was a consensual, mutual relationship, sexually speaking, wasn't it?
Yes, always.
So you just said you
Again,
lied
this
on the stand.
issue involving the idea that there was going to be a movie and what was going to happen in the movie. Part of it, or what it took place during a conversation
I would
that
be
you had on
too.
May 10th of 2008, right?
Yes.
And it can be characterized as phone sex, correct?
Yes.
And it can also be fair to say that what people say during phone sex isn't necessarily true. Wouldn't you agree to that?
I would agree to that.
Well, ma'am, what you said
Not yet.
in your phone sex conversation
Not
with
yet.
Mr. Alexander, according to your own testimony, part of it was a lie, wasn't it?
Are you talking about how he never jerked off?
No, I'm talking about what you said in
This
that
is the first one.
conversation. What you
There
said,
was
part of what was going
the
on was a
appeal
lie,
and a
wasn't
second
it?
trial. Yes. Yes, there was. You're right.
Yes,
But
part
no,
of
this
it
is
was
the
a
first
lie.
one.
Sure it was a lie, right? And so at least if we're using this conversation as a point of reference, people, you and Mr.
honest.
Alexander, but you specifically, you lied to
You might
him,
want to
right?
move on.
I did.
And there was no harm in it because it was just a fantasy kind of conversation, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just fantasy.
Right, and
Trial
that-
of night
so that
court.
if he says he wants to tie you up to a tree and stick it up your ass, that could also be seen as fantasy, right?
Yes.
That never happened, did it?
No.
And talking about, for example, these things about the movie and that sort of thing, whether or not you believed it or not, it was part of the fantasy of that conversation, wasn't it?
Yes.
So for example, if you just listen to one of these snippets or one of these exchanges, we can see that perhaps it's just all a fantasy. Let me have this marked as an exhibit. I move for the admission of exhibit 496.
No objection.
496 is admitted.
I didn't know tonight was gonna be super spicy.
And Matt, before we listen to it,
I should have
in this
assumed.
particular excerpt, you would actually indicate that you believe that maybe this making of this movie could be artistic. I want you to listen to that.
No. No. Flores is like, are we really doing this? Are we doing this one? Really?
I was saying, I'm kind of envisioning one, like when you're kitty fucking me. But like I'm looking with my head tilted back, so all you can really see is like the outline of my chin and some of my cheek and jawbone, and like my ears and hair, but you can't really see the rest of my face. You could just see a dick between two tits, like in focus with the neck and everything sort of a little bit blurry, but they're like kind of artistic, you know what I'm saying?
That's great.
Yeah, I don't know if we could do that because your legs might take up the spot where the camera should be, but maybe do something like that. Or vice versa. Ooh, I've got more ideas. Okay, go ahead.
Well, we'll work that out.
Y'all pity the fool.
We could do it from like the reverse angle work.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like the other way.
Mm-hmm. And we could still blur my face and put your cock in focus. You have
This
a
is
good
the
looking
word.
dick, baby.
His
That's
face
all
is
you know.
everything. That's exactly what I'm thinking, sir.
It's like, it's
phrasing.
So smooth. And it goes
Check,
so
please.
No,
it wasn't me. It was the one-armed man. Objection!
You
Hearsay! I'm gonna bite my pillow. That's what I'm gonna do.
gonna sound effect it the whole time.
You sit on a throne of lies. You can't handle the truth. Even before you start.
You do say
That was
that
a preemptive shh.
it could be an artistic
Just know I have a whole
endeavor,
bag
right?
of shh
Yes.
And in
with
fact,
your name
that
on
comes
it.
from the fact that you like to take photographs, correct?
Yes.
And that's sort of one side of your life that you have, correct?
Yes.
And so, again, the fact that you're talking about it doesn't mean that you're actually going to do it, right?
We were kind of tentatively planning it, but I don't know whether we're actually going to do it or not.
Right. It's a situation, again, that sometimes when people are involved in a sexual situation like what this appears to be, they get caught up in the heat of the moment and they say things that are related to what's going on, correct?
I would agree with that.
Oh
my God, who the hell cares?
Whether or not you guys should stop this particular activity.
No. Don't grab another. No one.
Stop having sex?
Or stop having sex, stop having porn sex, that sort of thing.
I think we did, yes.
Well, let's hear what you actually say.
You are a meathead.
Fill in the silence.
I move for the admission of exhibit 497.
No objection.
497 is admitted.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to get pictures of jizzle on your face.
That's gonna be cool, actually. It's gonna be.
Try to get one tab on coming on your face. And then,
Yeah, definitely.
like mid-shot.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, my.
No. I seriously think about having sex with you every day.
I can't.
Every day.
I have 70 plus sound effects, and there are not enough sound effects in this world for her. There just isn't.
You've got mail. Finish her.
That was a poor choice of a sound effect right then.
Dude, I'm really glad that we started fucking.
Well, if it's wrong, then I don't want to be right. I'm glad
Oh
too.
my God.
Like, seriously?
Literally, I'm like, okay,
He said it.
it's Jody. I'm just Jody. I'm calling Jody.
Like, I don't know. What's wrong is that I wish we were doing it before, because that was good. And
once we did it, why not did it? Yeah.
You're stuck.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, this
And it appears that there's
both
a bit of a conflict because the two of you
is
keep
just like-
engaging in sexual activity.
I quit.
correct?
I'm waiting for it to explode.
Whether it be by telephone or whether it be in person, correct?
Yes.
And this issue involving you and he having sex, it also created a conflict for him, right?
Yes.
And you knew that it had to do with the LDS faith, right?
Yes.
And you were also LDS, and that created a conflict for you too, right?
Yes.
And so it wasn't a situation that it was a secret to both of you that perhaps, since you were both members of the LDS faith, this is not what you should be engaging in, right?
That's right.
But neither of you cared, right?
Objection, also speculation.
Sustained.
Ma'am, you still continue to engage in sexual activities with him, even though you had this conflict, didn't you?
Yes.
And even though he says he has this conflict here, he still continued to have sex with you, right?
Yes.
So even though you were two conflicted persons, you still continued to engage in this activity, right?
Yeah, that's what the conflict was about.
Right. And in fact, you even had a description of the two of you, didn't you, in that conversation that we just heard from May 10th of 2008, don't you?
Yes.
Let's hear what you said. I move for the admission of 498.
No objection.
498 is admitted.
That's right. I asked you not to, so I could get in the. Hang on, I thought I heard somebody. Let me just double check. Oh, I think it was just my charger.
Like so on Scoob.
All right, we're good. This coast is clear. Let me get back into the groove. Things.
DJ Jody getting back in the groove.
I mean, the pictures of the take are still
Like, what are we going to do with our stuff? We are just horny toads.
Ma'am, that's just an acknowledgement there that both of you are into each other sexually, correct?
That's correct.
And there's no indication from anything that we've heard that you were offended by the physical sexual activities that were going on, right?
Right.
It may have been a conflict, but the two of you enjoyed each other. You enjoyed him as much as it appeared that he was enjoying you, right?
Yes.
And you had at least that kind of relationship to the point where you actually had a name for him or a pet name for him, didn't you?
Yes.
Let me show you this exhibit. Take a look at exhibit 499. Do you recognize it?
Yes.
It's a text message that you sent, right?
Yes.
What's the date?
The date is 21st. Actually, it would have been the 20th of January.
And you're saying that it was the 21st of January because of the time difference, right?
Yes, it was the 20th, but it shows the 21st.
Move for the admission of exhibit 497.
Tell me there's not a disc involved.
No objection.
499 is admitted.
And that's you sending him a message saying, hey, Hadi Biscotti will call you. Will you call me before you hit the sack, right?
Yes.
I have a question about tomorrow morning. Thanks, my dear, correct?
That's correct.
And you actually called him Hadi Biscotti, correct?
Yes.
And that's because he was, in part, because he was special to you, right?
One of my favorite colors.
Because apparently at that time you were in love with him, right?
I believe I was. Yes.
And it's something that two people who are intimate, have in common, right?
Yes.
But he really wasn't that special to you, was he?
I wouldn't say that.
Well, let's take a look at another exhibit. 287. This is to Ryan Burns. You see that? It says Ryan's PPL, Gmail.
Right.
You're me. You see that?
Yes.
And you say to him, at some point before you go meet him, hey, howdy biscotti, what's new, right?
Yes.
Isn't that the same thing that you called Mr. Alexander?
Yes, I called a lot of people that.
So
Hold on.
what you're saying is,
Come
when
again?
you call that Mr. Alexander that, it didn't mean anything then.
I wouldn't say it was meaningless, no.
It could also mean that when you started calling Mr. Burns howdy biscotti, was that Mr. Alexander really didn't mean that much to you, right?
That's not what it meant.
Well, it could though, based on what we see.
She's asked that. She's answered the question.
So asked and answered.
You called them both by the same name, right?
Yes.
And you only had one encounter with Mr. Burns, correct?
Well, I met him once and then I saw him again, so that would be twice. But if you're talking about the physical encounter, yeah,
Right.
one time, I guess.
Yeah, one time, right?
Unless you count shaking his hand, which I guess that doesn't really
Pardon?
count.
I didn't hear what you said.
I'm sorry, unless you count, we shook hands and spoke briefly. I don't even really remember it, so it was pretty brief, but
In terms of a one-on-one with
Yes,
Mr.
that
Burns,
would
it
be
was only
one.
one time, right?
yes,
And you're already calling him howdy biscotti, at least through this PPL, or at least through this instant messaging thing, right?
that's right.
And exhibit number 286, it tells us a little bit more of what actually happened when you went to see him.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Tell me more. Tell me
I
more.
want you
Tell
to
me
go down
more.
here and read what he says, starting with the ha-ha.
Ultimately going to be up to
If you can
y'all.
read it. If not, I'll bring it in.
I'm going to give two options and then you guys get to
Go ahead
pick.
and read it out loud.
Says, haha, well, we woke up, we sat there for
No.
a bit, and then we held each other, and then we started to kiss. And you said I could not be comfortable, and you adjusted me.
So it does say that you told him that he could not be comfortable, and so you adjusted him, right?
Yes.
And then what else does he say? It's above it.
Then you pressed your body really close to mine and started to kiss me.
So he was. You were on top of him, weren't you?
Yes, well, kind of on top of him, off to the side a little, I think on his left.
But you did start to press your body close to him, right?
Yes.
And then you say what? It's right above it.
Well, I think it's out of order, but I say, well, I would gladly give it to you.
And then right above it, he asks,
Can I ask what else you might give me?
and your answer is?
You can ask, but you'll have to wait and see for that one.
Bottom line, you're sort of already involved in the same sort of give and take that you were involved with Mr. Alexander, correct?
Yes.
Now, there's a number of stories that you gave in this particular case involving the killing. There was one that you gave on the 15th of July of 2008 to Detective Flores, right?
Yes.
There's another one that you gave on July 16th of 2008 to Detective Flores, right?
Yes.
But then you still gave another view of what happened to 48 hours, right?
I think I was inconsistent in my lies. Yes.
So let's take a look at what you may have said 48 hours. I move for the admission of Exhibit 500.
No objection.
500 is admitted.
You feel comfortable talking?
Yeah, let me talk about, I'll talk about this, and nobody knows this. The detectives know this because I've spoken with them. Boy, this is really hard. I'm trying to think if I want to say this or not. There's a lot of evidence that places me at Travis's house the day he was, or not just the day he was killed, but the day, you know, that most of that week. And there's a reason for that. And that reason is that, that I did see Travis the day that he passed away. And a lot of things happened that day. I almost lost my life as well. And I was told that I can't speak about it or tell anyone about it because my family's life was in danger over it. I was told that if I did, that they would all die and that I would die. And that was kind of the end of the story. There was an argument among some people, 2 individuals, that one wanted to take my life and one said, you know, that's not why we came. And at one point, the guy with the gun sort of succumbed to her pressure, I think, because he was holding the gun at my forehead, and I was on the ground on my knees, and I was near the armoire of where he kept his TV in his bedroom, and Travis was in the bathroom, and she was standing over Travis near him, and the guy with the gun was standing near me, and again, this argument was going on back and forth. And I just remember holding my head and closing my eyes. And then there was so much that went on that day, but the short of it is he pulled the trigger and nothing happened, just a click. And I realized then that he probably, I don't know if that means that he was out of bullets or I don't know what that means. You know, I wasn't that familiar with handguns. And so at that point I pushed past him and I ran down the stairs. He didn't make much of an effort to stop me.
If I could, I would. But I guess
I could almost swear that I heard someone following me down the stairs, and I ran out the front door and I got into my car and I drove and I left.
Ma'am, nowhere in that recitation or in any of the interviews that you gave with 48 Hours did you ever indicate that you had memory loss, correct?
That's correct.
And in fact, you gave a slightly different view of the same event to 48 Hours on another occasion, didn't you?
Yes, couldn't keep my story straight.
I move for the admission of Exhibit 501.
No objection.
501 is admitted.
Again, I was looking down and going through some photos. He is really critical of himself. You know, we're all our own worst critics. And so, you know, some pictures he liked, some he didn't. And I was looking through the pictures. I heard, again, a loud pop, and I was hit on the back of the head. I don't think I was out very long. But when I came to, I was kind of laying next to the bathtub and the shower right next to each other. And Travis was on all fours on the tile, and he was, well, I say all fours, but one of his hands was actually holding his head. And I mean, he wasn't laying down or anything. He was kind of on his knees and on the, you know, on his hands. And at that point, I looked over toward
You just made the list!
Entrance of the bathroom. There was a hallway, and 2 people were walking down the hallway, and I ran into the closet. It's a big closet. And I was going to run out the other door, except he stopped me with a gun pointed at my forehead. And I was just, you know, when you have a gun pointed at your forehead, you just do anything. So he told me to get down onto my knees and stand over or sit over by the armoire. So I just stayed there, squatting on my knees next to the armoire. And he left the room for a minute, maybe a few minutes. And she was in the bathroom, standing over Travis.
Thank you
and
for
I charged her.
the
I
super
ran
chat.
down that hall and I pushed her as hard as I could, and she fell over him, landed near the sink There's 2 sinks in the master bath, and he landed near the left sink, near the trash can, close to the windows, and I started to pull on him, and I said, "Come on, let's go." And he just wasn't. He was sluggish and lethargic, and he just wasn't getting up, and he wasn't really saying much of anything. He was there, and he was conscious, and I could see that. He wasn't saying much. I was able to get him he was sort of not crawling, but he was kind of moving and trying to stand up. And I was able to get him about halfway down the hallway when she came back at me, and we struggled for a few minutes. And again, she was doing what she could to overpower me, and she was kicking me, and she was stomping on my feet, and she was trying to kick my knees, and I was kind of bending them or trying to do what I could. And he came back in the room, and again, I had to go back to where I was sitting and stay there, and that's when they both began to argue about whether or not I should die. And there was an argument that went on back and forth between them for several minutes. At least it felt like several minutes. He didn't want to, and she did, and she kept saying why they should, and he kept saying, well, it's not why we came here, and after he had gone through my purse again, he finally just pulled the trigger, and I thought, honestly, it's over. It's the weirdest feeling to think that it's going to be over at any second, and then someone pulls the trigger, but you're still there. And at that point, I just ran. I pushed right past him, and I flew down the stairs. And there's part of I wasn't even in my body. I think I was, but everything felt numb. I was hyperventilating, and my heart was racing. And so even as I went down the stairs, there was part of me, my brain was telling my legs, don't screw up, or you're going to fly down these stairs and you're not going to get away. So I'm, trying my best not to stumble down these stairs, and I just went out as fast as I could and out the door and slammed the door behind me and got in the car and left.
And that's another version of the events that occurred on June 4th of 2008, correct?
Yes,
And they're not true.
neither of them. Well, it's all the same thing. It's just different versions. Couldn't keep my life straight.
So the answer is they're not true, right?
Neither of them, yes.
Ma'am, you did also continue to talk to 48 Hours about coming to Mesa. Do you remember talking to them about that?
Yes.
And do you remember talking to them about what your plans were initially? Do you remember about that?
Yes.
And the reason that you came out to Mesa, you didn't have a plan initially, correct?
Do you mean on June 4th?
Pardon?
Are you talking about on June 4th?
I'm talking about when you left Puerto Rico.
What was your question? I'm sorry.
My question is, according to you didn't have any plans to come to Mesa initially when you left Puerto Rico, correct?
That's correct.
In fact, that's something that you told 48 Hours, right?
Yes.
Take a look at what you told them. For the admission of Exhibit 502.
No objection.
502 is admitted.
So tell me about this trip on this particular day. Did you plan that in advance, or did you surprise?
No, I'm really kind of go by the wind when I take my road trips. I usually plan more than I can actually do, and then I cross some off the list when I feel I can't. So on this last trip, my plan was to go to Monterey, to Los Angeles, to San Diego, to Utah, and then over to Death Valley, and then back up to Wairika. And it certainly didn't go anything like that. It went Santa Cruz and then Monterey. And then I went to LA and Pasadena. And then I skipped San Diego. And it was when I was in Pasadena that night that I decided to go to Mesa. And Travis had found out about my road trip about a week prior. And he has this way of kind of guilting me, not in a bad way, just like making me sort of feel bad. So he said, well, why don't you come to Mesa instead and you can visit me? And I was like, no, I have other things that I need to do and other plans and other people. I didn't say it in that way because you have to kind of be delicate about it. Otherwise, he would take offense, I think. And so he would say things like, okay, I see, whatever. I see how it is. You don't love me, just as a joke though. And so it just kind of pulls on my heartstrings a little. And again, I was weak and I folded and I decided that I'm going to go. And so I called him when I was in Pasadena and said, guess what? And he said, what? And I said, I'm coming to Mesa. And he said, really? And I said, yeah. He's like, all right, cool. And so, we hung up the phone and I drove and I told him he didn't have to wait up for me because, I was still in Pasadena and that's probably a good 5 hours and something, just all the way to Mesa. And as well as that, my phone was about to die. So, I just said, if I don't speak to you again until I get there, then, that's why. And so I showed up, I think around 4 a.m. and he was still awake. He had stayed up all night. He was on the internet looking up some videos on YouTube, some silly videos. And we watched some more videos for a little while. And then it was just like, I was exhausted from the drive. So we just went to bed and went to sleep. And,
With regard to the videos that he was looking at, we've heard something about quicker, faster, stronger, something like that. They weren't of any sexual nature, were they?
No.
And in fact, it may have been the way you described it, that it was some people with some sort of weird or funny headgear that were just dancing around. That's the way you describe it,
It
right?
looked that way, yes.
And so you actually left Wairika on June 2nd of 2008, correct?
Yes.
And prior to that, though, you made some preparations, didn't you?
Yes.
You made some preparations in the sense that, according to you, you made a reservation to rent a car, right?
Right.
And the reservation to rent the car was made not in Wairika, but in some other place, right?
It was made online. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, in Reading, for Reading, yes.
Right. And Wairika does have some rental car companies, correct?
That's correct.
And in fact, what happened was that when you went to Reading to rent the car, you even had to, for lack of a better term, inconvenience somebody else to take you to get your car, to get the rental car, and then take you back to their house, right?
That's right.
And it would have been much more convenient in Wairika to go rent the car in Wairika, wouldn't it?
Not for my bank account, no.
Well, when you're saying your bank account, you're talking about financial reasons, right?
Right.
And how much money did you take with you in cash?
I don't recall, but it was probably a few hundred, I think.
So when you say a few hundred, are we talking about 200?
Maybe that, not much more, somewhere in that ballpark. It was between like 80 and 200. I don't remember the exact amount.
So it's between $80 and $200, maximum being $200, right?
I think. I don't really remember as far as cash.
Well, could it have been $300?
It could have. I don't remember having that much cash on me, but I guess it could have.
If you don't remember having that much cash on you, then it wasn't $300, right?
Well, it just means I don't remember. Probably not.
All right. And so previously during the direct examination, you told us that when you go on these trips, you don't take usually more than $200. Do you remember telling us that?
Yeah, that's typical.
And so in this particular case, you said, well, I had financial issues, and so I decided to rent out of Reading because it was cheaper, right?
That's right.
But it would have been more convenient, though, to rent from Wairika, correct?
Convenient for who?
You.
No.
In terms of picking up the car, it wouldn't have been convenient?
No.
Well, Wairika, you told us, was a small town, right?
Yes.
And you indicated that everybody sort of knows everybody there, right?
That's pretty much the case.
And the other thing that you told us about Wairika was that people know everybody else's business there, right?
Usually.
Right. And in fact, one of the examples that you gave us of where people in Wairika know what's going on was the example when you were 17 and you went to, or you skipped a class. Do you remember telling us that?
Yes.
It was a history exam that you had to prepare for, right?
That's right.
And you indicated that you went somewhere in the car and you were studying, right?
Yes.
And while you were studying, your father found you, right?
Yes.
And one of the explanations or reasons that you gave for that was that Wairika is a very small town, right?
I don't remember giving that explanation because that's not why he found me.
Well, you indicated that you don't know how he found you.
Help if I unmuted myself. Everyone, stick around because in just a few minutes, I'm going to announce the 2 trials you get to vote on for the next night court trial. I'm doing it now for 2 reasons. 1, I'm impatient. And 2, I want to be able to look up some stuff and have some time to do so. So, that being said, stay tuned, and I'll announce them as soon as, everything's updated and ready to go.
Found you, right?
I knew how he found me.
Well, that's not what you told us on direct examination.
Oh, I mean, I knew why he went to go looking for me. How he found me was he was just driving around. I'm sorry.
Ma'am, that's not what you told us on direct examination, right?
I don't remember. That's a fact.
Again, do you have problems remembering what you just told us less than a couple of weeks ago?
Occasionally, I guess.
And in this particular case, you're having trouble remembering what you told us as to how your father found you, right?
I'm having trouble with how you're characterizing it, I think.
Well, again, we're going to get into this word exchange issue, but my question to you is, do you remember telling us on direct examination that Wairika's a small town and that's part of the reason or how your father found you? Do you remember telling us that?
Yes.
And so Wairika in 2008 is not much bigger than it was in 1997 or 1998 when this happened, right?
No, I think it's about 1,000 more in population.
Right. It's only 1,000 more in population. In other words, it's not a town that's exploding in terms of population, right?
Yes.
It is or it is not.
Yes, that's right. I'm sorry.
And so that in people in Wairika, if somebody does something, more likely than not, they may end up meeting somebody that they know, right?
Yes.
So, for example, if you went to one of the two or either of the two car rental agencies that are there in Wairika, somebody may have been able to know or talk about it later if they were asked about it, correct?
Perhaps people wouldn't know me though because I hadn't lived there for 10, 15 years.
But they may have, right?
A few high school friends or something.
Again, it's not a very large town, right?
Yes.
And in fact, what's the population is what, 11,000?
I think it's 7,000.
7,000?
Something, yeah.
And you are, at the time, back in June 2nd of 2008, you were working, right?
Yes.
And where you were in this town, there aren't that many bars, right?
I think there are like 5 or 6 bars.
Right. And there isn't one called Margaritaville, right?
No, there's not.
You worked at Casa Ramos,
You're
right?
real clear on that now.
And you had some time off, didn't you?
Yes.
And this was going to be part of your vacation, right?
Road trip, yes.
The road trip was your vacation, right?
It was partially vacation, partially a business trip.
And when you say partially business trip, what you're saying is, for example, that if you went to buy gas, that's something that could be deductible, correct?
If it was for the business purpose, yes, it would be deductible.
Sure. And in fact, since you were going to go to Utah, going to a gas station, it would make sense to save the receipts so that you could then deduct them from your income taxes, right?
That's right.
And in this particular case, it wouldn't matter whether or not you paid cash or you paid with a credit card, right?
It wouldn't matter for tax purposes.
Right, as long as you had the receipts, right?
Yes.
And in this case, so you did pay at least attention to the receipts that you got, for example, from the gas station, right?
What do you mean by pay attention?
That KY.
Yeah, I just threw everything in the shoebox.
Right, you threw everything in the shoebox, everything related to this trip, right?
Yes.
All of the receipts from this trip were thrown in this shoebox that we've seen previously, right?
No, probably not all, but just whatever was left over in my wallet.
Well, but you were trying to pay attention to keep the receipts that were related to a business expense, right?
Somewhat. I'm very disorganized, but that's kind of my effort, yeah.
Well, no, that's what you were attempting to do, right?
Yes.
And in fact, you did save some of the receipts involved with this particular trip, right?
Yes.
And so you're in Wairika and you decide instead to rent a car from Redding, California, right?
Yes.
And that's south of Wairika, correct?
Yes, on my way.
And it is on the way, but it is south, correct?
Yes.
And it's what, 90 miles away?
I think it's 99 miles.
So in terms of travel, we're talking about what? Close to 2 hours?
maybe just under 2 hours, I think.
And on this particular day that you left, on June 2nd of 2008, you left the house around 5 o'clock in the morning, something like that, right?
Yeah, I think so. It was very early in the morning.
Well, you were at the Reading Airport by 8 o'clock, weren't you?
Yes.
And so did you get there before 8 o'clock and just wait around, or did you get there at about the same, at that time?
I don't remember waiting. Well, I waited a little bit because there was a line, but not waiting for them to open.
And somebody was with you, correct?
Yes.
A guy was with you, right?
I can't remember if it was my brother's neighbor or my sister-in-law, but I think it was my sister-in-law. So either one of them dropped me off and picked me up, or vice versa.
So when you're saying that.
But she remembers how many miles there are.
They dropped you off and picked you up. What you're saying is that they did not get out of the car that took you to the Reading Airport, correct?
I don't remember.
You don't remember whether or not they went up to the counter with you?
I think I was alone.
So you were here when Mr. Colombo testified, correct, as to whether or not you were accompanied, correct?
Yes.
And so what time did you arrive at this would be your sister's house, right?
Yes.
What time did you get there?
Before renting the car, you mean?
Yes. That was the only time that you got there, on June 2nd, correct?
No, I got there with the rental car afterward and took a nap. No, I went back to our house.
All right, the first time before you rented the car?
In the morning. I don't remember the exact time.
So it would have been, and they knew you were coming, correct?
Yes.
And so they were ready to then take you down to the airport, right?
Yes.
And they dropped you off, and then you went to pick up the car, right?
I believe they did, yes.
And one of the things that happened is that you initially were given a car, or rented a car by Mr. Colombo. Colombo, correct?
Yes.
And the car that he offered you initially was red, right?
Yes.
And you told him that you didn't want the red car, right?
That's right.
And the reason that you told him that you didn't want the red car was because it would call attention to it would stand out more, correct?
No.
Well, didn't you tell him that you did want to exchange the car though, right?
Yes.
And you told him that red is a color that police officers sort of focus on. Do you remember telling him that? Is that yes or no?
I'm trying to remember. I don't think I worded it that way.
You do?
So you did give him a reason why you didn't want that car, right?
Yeah.
And part of it had to do with the color,
that
right?
Yes.
police
You
tend to
didn't
focus
want
on.
the color red,
Yes.
correct? The color red seems to stand out, doesn't it?
I don't know. I just heard they get more tickets.
Right, and so it had to do with the police department, right? You did not want to stand out, and that's why you wanted a different color, correct?
Not the police department because I'd be on the freeway. I just didn't want to get tickets and I'd get more tickets.
Who do you think gives traffic citations then?
On the freeways in California, it's the California Highway Patrol.
That's police, aren't they?
I don't think they're police. I think they're law enforcement, but not categorized as police, not to my knowledge anyway.
So if there's a crime, you're saying that the California Highway Patrol doesn't respond to them?
They respond as well as maybe the sheriff's office or something. Depends on the district, I would
He
imagine.
knows nothing.
Right, and so you were afraid that police, whether it includes the California Highway Patrol or somebody driving down the street, that they would focus in on your car because you had heard that police get more tickets involving a red car, correct?
Afraid? No, I wasn't afraid. I just didn't want to shell out more money for tickets.
Right. So afraid may not be the word that you like. What word would you like? Concerned?
I don't know.
Well, no, you're the one that said afraid wasn't the right word. Why don't you tell me what word you would use in describing your reluctance in taking a red car?
It was motivated by financial frugality.
Well, you're telling us then that the red car was cheaper to rent than the white car.
No, in theory, I would be less likely to get a speeding ticket and shell out hundreds of dollars if I were not in a red car.
So what you're saying is the red car, in your view, because of the color, stands out more to police departments, whether they be California Highway Patrol, whether they be the Salinas Police Department, whether they be the Reading Police Department, right?
I'd be speculating, but I guess that's why they get more tickets. I don't know.
Well, no, I don't want you to guess because I want you to tell us what you were thinking at the time because you were the one that made this request involving the red car.
Well, my thought is that red cars drivers of red cars tend to drive faster, they get more tickets. That's just what I've always been told.
Right. But that's what other drivers do. You supposedly were going to adhere to the speed limit or within 10 miles of it, right?
Usually, I tried.
Right, so if you do that, then you really shouldn't have too much of a concern about a traffic citation, right?
That's not right. I've been cited before when the radar was off.
And how many times have you been cited for speeding, ma'am, when your speed was over 10 miles an hour, over the speed limit?
Several times.
Give me one time.
One time I was driving on Highway 1 south of Carmel, or just entering Carmel Highlands, and I was going, I think 60 something in a 50, and I got pulled over, and he clocked me he said 7.
Let me stop you. You said you were going 60 something in a 50 mile per hour zone, right?
Yes.
That means you were going over the 10 mile issue that I just presented to you.
Yes.
Or do you mean
So in
John
other words,
Thomas?
what I'm asking you, can you give me an example where you were driving either the speed limit or within 9 miles of the speed limit where you were given a ticket?
Objection, relevance, Your Honor.
And we were talking about the car rental in Redding, California, and you ultimately were given a second car, correct?
Yes.
And the color of this car was white, correct?
Yes.
And that was more to your liking because of this issue involving the traffic citations, correct?
Yes.
And this car had a capacity of over 12 gallons per tank full, correct?
It was 10 or 12. I don't remember.
Well, okay.
I can't even tell you
Do you
that.
remember, this is exhibit 237.018. Do you remember filling up with gas in Winnemucca, Nevada?
I remember running out of gas in Nevada, and
when you say that you ran out of gas, there was absolutely no gas in your car, or you were just running low?
it was, the gas light was on, so.
When you say that the gas light was on, doesn't mean that you're not moving. It means that you are low on gasoline, correct?
Yeah, it was kind of below.
Are you saying that that's where it happened in Winnemucca, Nevada?
No, I was probably, I think he said I was 15 or 20 miles from there.
And you were able to make it to Winnemucca, correct?
No, I pulled over.
And you pulled over and did what?
Gas cans.
I went in and asked the guy where the nearest gas station is. He said it's about 15 miles. I think he said 15 miles further. I didn't think I would make it on E, so I went and started putting gas in the car, and he came out and assisted me.
And you were putting gas from what?
From one of the gas cans.
All right. And let's just take a look at this exhibit right here. And it indicates that it's your name, right?
Yes.
It's from Winnemucca, right?
Yes.
And it indicates that the amount that you purchased was 12.175 gallons, right?
Yes.
And you paid $49.91, correct?
That's right.
And this issue involving you running out of gas, that's not something that you told us on direct examination, correct? Yes,
No, I was not.
And so you have this car that has at least a capacity of 12 gallons, correct?
Objection, Foundation.
Approach.
Now, with regard to Winnemucca, you filled up your car with gas, didn't you?
Yes, I put gas in it.
All the way till it was full, right?
I probably, because I usually filled up until the
Yes or
nozzle
no?
clicked.
Yes or no? In Winnemucca, did you fill it up with gas?
I put gas in it. I probably filled it up.
So you're saying that you're not sure if you filled it up all the way with gas then, right?
That's right.
But you did make a purchase in Winnemucca pursuant to exhibit 237.018, in which 12.175 gallons were purchased by you, right?
Yes.
And so it could be that the tank was 15 gallons of gas, right?
Objection, speculation.
Overruled. Give me the answer.
Right?
That's possible.
But at least we know that this gas tank could hold at least 12.175 gallons of gas, right?
Right.
And before you went on this trip, it started on June 2nd of 2008, correct?
Yes.
Started around 5 o'clock in the morning, correct?
It was early in the mornings, around that time.
Because you were at Redding at 8 a.m., correct?
Yes.
Well, we saw the receipts. Were you here when the receipts were shown of you renting the car at approximately 8:01?
Yes, I was here.
And so if it takes you 1 to 2 hours to drive down there, that would mean you would have to get up pretty early, right?
Yes.
And so you got up pretty early.
was
You drove
me.
down
I
to
don't have full
Reading,
privileges.
but in
I just
anticipation
flipped
of
over
that, you actually called somebody by the name
Brandi's
of
account
Daryl
briefly
Brewer,
to
right?
do it.
Yeah,
I'm
and I'm sorry I
breaking
didn't
the
get up
rules.
early. I was up all night. So.
Pardon?
You said I got up early. I just wanted to make that clear. I was up all night. So.
Okay, so what you're saying is you didn't sleep that night, right?
I didn't sleep that night, no.
Okay. So, but you did, in anticipation of this trip, contact an old boyfriend, right?
Yes.
And that would be Daryl Brewer, right?
Yes.
You made a number of telephone calls to him, correct?
Probably.
And when you say probably, it means that you're not sure, right?
I'm not sure, no.
So you at least made 2 calls to him though, right?
If that's what my phone records reflect, then that would be right.
I'm asking what your memory reflects.
I don't remember actually calling him before leaving on my trip.
So you have no idea as to whether or not you even called them before you went on the trip then, right?
I don't recall. Well, of course I called him before the trip, but I don't know how soon before the trip.
So you don't remember whether or not it was in May then, is that what you're saying?
I did talk to him in May.
And it was toward the end of May, correct?
Probably.
And when you keep saying probably, it means that you're not sure, but that you do not deny that you made a call, right?
That's right.
And so you made this call to him at the end of May, and you asked him whether or not he had any spare gas cans for you to use, right?
That sounds right.
It's not
No, I'm
Brandi.
not asking what sounds right. Is that what you did?
I think I did, because he's the one I ended up borrowing them.
Well, ma'am, are you having trouble again with your memory with regard to events then?
Yeah, because there were a few different,
So the answer is yes. You are having trouble with your memory.
with that question.
Well, are you having trouble? It's not the only question that you've had trouble with. Are you having trouble with the memory of the events leading up to your trip?
Oh, but we're going to have to figure that out later and at another time. Because tonight we have a good announcement. Oh, so here, before we get to the announcement, I did look up, according to National Motorist Association, white colored vehicles get pulled over the most. Now that said, red vehicles come in second, followed closely by gray and silver. White cars are also stopped by law enforcement the most because it's the most common color car. So take that as you will. Doesn't necessarily mean much. Awesome. Okay, so we're all set up. All right, so announcement for you all. I have been mentioning that we are going to be, once we finish Jody, I wanted everybody to vote on the next trial. So I was going to give you 2 options, and then you need rates. You need rates? I don't know if I have rates. I just have general thoughts. 1 second. 1 second. See if I have rates. So 35% of all vehicles on the road are white. 5% of all vehicles on the roadway are red. So a higher chance of pulling over white cars than red cars. That's the only rates that I can find right now. But the most pulled over cars go Subaru WRX, Hyundai Genesis, Coupe, Kia Stinger, Dodge Challenger, Nissan 370Z, Infiniti G37, Mitsubishi Lancer, Scion FRS, Audi A3, and a Mini Coupe. So there you go. All right, so back to the announcement. I promised you guys that we would be voting, and so I've picked 2 trials. They're similar in nature, but you have an option. Oh, rate you from 1 to 10. I'm going to give you an 11. But I wanted to give you an option. And how am I going to do that? That's the question, right? Well, on our app / Linktree, we're putting up by we're, I mean Cajun, one of our mods, just put up the the poll. And so you get a chance to vote, and I'm going to show you that right now. All right, so here it is. We'll put the link down in the chat for our link tree. And so if you go to our link tree and you scroll down, first off, take a look at this lovely link tree. There's a lot of stuff here. It's a one-stop shop. If you go to the link tree on your phone and then do the save to home screen, it's basically an app. So it pops up looking like an app. You can click on it. Boom, straight here. We always put up the most, what's coming up, what's happening. So like tomorrow, list hearing followed by a special guest appearance by Joseph Scott Morgan. Night court, sidebar, exclusive interviews, our Discord server link, hot cops and trial daddies, trial mamas, and then you'll see all the way at the bottom here, voting is now open for the next night court live trial. If you click on that, it's going to pop open an option. Oh boy. Which trial do you choose for our next night court live? And you have the choice of, well, it doesn't like me here. That's okay. There we go. Okay. So here's our two options. Chandler Halderson and Joel Guy Jr. Now you might be saying, well, JT, I don't exactly know what they're doing. Here it is right here for those of you who are asking. So let me just kind of give you a little bit of just a summary. So in regards to Joel Guy Jr., on November 26, 2016, 61-year-old Joel Guy Sr. and 55-year-old Lisa Guy were murdered and dismembered by their son. Guy Jr., his father was stabbed 42 times, his mother 31 times. And so you can look that up and figure out the outcome if you want. We don't seem to really care in terms of knowing the outcome or not, because these are trials that have happened. This is more recent than Jody, but there's a lot there that happened in that crime, in that murder, double murder. And then in terms of Chandler Halderson, I'm looking up some specifics here. Chandler told detectives his parents had gone to the cabin to take care of a plumbing emergency. They were never seen of again, but detectives received information, a tip saying that they had seen Chandler walking from the wood line, and they discovered human remains. And so there's a little more to that as well. Obviously, I don't want to tell you everything, but that's what we're doing. So one does look like Crew. You are very accurate. That's what I'm talking about. So the top guy is Chandler Halderson. The bottom guy is Joel Guy Jr. And so those are your options for the next one. And yes, this is for when we're done with Jody, not the next show. So I'm doing this for a couple of reasons. One, I want to make sure that I can look up some stuff to have answers for you all if you have questions. Because for Jody, I didn't really do that. But I'm also not going to watch the trial. I didn't watch the trial yet, so I'll be watching it for the first time with you all. And so I'm currently screaming at the Jody. Yes, for sure. And Joel. So the reason why Joel is wearing this mask is because both of these trials actually were during COVID, and so these were part of the precautions that they took. And boy, does he look fun in that mask / face shield deal. So head over to our link tree and vote. I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to vote for. That's silly. Oh. So that'll be open for quite some time. Too complicated. What? If you click on the link and you click at the bottom link that says voting is now open, and then you just click on the name, you can do it. So yes, voting now. Voting's open. You can vote right now and finish it up. Voting is open on Linktree. And so yeah, so I'm excited about that. Excited to move on to the next thing. As soon as we work our way through Jody, obviously, we want to see the end of this. You go to this. Click on that link. Once you click on that link, you scroll down to the bottom and you click on the voting is now open. And then you can choose one or the other. And again, while you're there, if you're on your phone, click add to home screen. and you will add the 13th Juror site that looks like an app to your home screen. And then you can just click on that and you'll always know. You'll always know. So that being said, thank you guys so much for hanging in there with me and Jody tonight. It was super inappropriate. Super inappropriate. And we learned that Jody was a
stupid idiot.
The ultimate shade of it all.
A lot of shade. A lot of shade. So, thank you for showing up for night court duty. I appreciate it. Take care of yourselves. And take care of your friends and family. And don't forget to smile. Smile like your heart is... Okay. Court's adjourned, everybody. You guys have a good night. I will see you on Wednesday.